Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Saturday, November 29th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $, ORIONNWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the number 6 Oregon Ducks versus the Washington Huskies. Kickoff is going to be here in just a few minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some Saturday college football. Let's get it, baby. Happy Saturday, everyone. Brian Jr. and on the right, running back stud for the Huskies, Jonah Coleman. Can't wait to be able to see how this one is all going to shake out. Obviously, we know that Ohio State is on the brink of beating Michigan, so the only way for Oregon to make the Big Ten championship game was if Michigan were to upset Ohio State. That's not going to happen, so congratulations to the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. They're going to be matching up next Saturday in the Big Ten championship. Wish Oregon was there to get revenge on Indiana and Ohio State in the last couple years, but again, we may end up matching up with those teams in the college football playoff, so we'll just have to see where the chips fall at that particular point. But again, the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers undefeated, the two best teams in college football. Obviously, we saw A&M lose to Texas, so obviously they're not in the running as far as being at the very top. They're going to drop a couple spots, and then obviously we still know Georgia, Oregon, and a few others are still playing some pretty good football. So again, we'll see how everything kind of shakes out after all the championship games next weekend, and we will end up doing a few of them. More than likely, the Big Ten championship is the primary, with the Indiana Hoosiers going against the Ohio State Buckeyes, and that's going to be must-see TV. Again, it would be nice if Oregon was able to, play in that particular matchup. That's what you strive for. That's the goal. But again, those two teams don't have a loss. They played really good football. We got the one loss to Indiana, and that's really the difference. We're 10-1. If we can end up winning this matchup, we'll be 11-1. And again, just because we're not in the Big Ten championship does not mean that we can't make a deep run. We're probably going to have to end up playing Indiana or Ohio State or both if we want to be champions in college football this year, or to even make it to the Natty. So again, nobody really knows how things are going to shake out. We have an idea, based on the gurus and the experts online, putting together kind of a mock list of where they think the playoff, teams are going to fall. But things are going to obviously move a little bit, not only after this weekend, the last weekend of the regular season, but also after what we see in the championship weekend next week. When you get a lot of those big schools and big matchups, just trying to get one more dub for that extra Uncle Mo and that motivation and momentum. And it's all about getting, healthy at the right time, getting that continuity and chemistry ready. And again, we saw last year in the college football playoff that all the teams that were, in the bye ended up having 2 to 3 weeks off, and they all lost. So again, things need to kind of change in the college football playoff atmosphere. Now, will all of the teams at the top lose, after having a few weeks off like last year? I don't think so this year. I think it'll be a little bit different, where you may have a couple that end up getting upset, but there will be a few, I think, that will still find a way to get the job done, even if that means that they're off for a couple weeks. Especially teams like Ohio State and Indiana, you would have to assume that they have probably the best chances of getting dubs, even having some, extended period time off. They do have some injured bodies, but they've been very, very good representing the Big Ten at the top. I know A&M fans were really hoping to beat Arch Manning and beat Texas. It just wasn't meant to be. Still a very, very good team in A&M. And then obviously you got Georgia and Oregon kind of waiting in the wings just to kind of see how the other teams do, not only this weekend, but obviously next weekend as well. We're going to get kickoff here in just a few minutes. On the Vegas line, they have Oregon favored by 6.5. And I don't know necessarily if that's a little high or not. Washington is very, very good at home. Damon Williams hasn't thrown an interception at home all year. 10 touchdowns, no picks. He plays very clean and flawless at home. Obviously, Washington wanted to get a couple more dubs, but 8-3, 5-3 in the Big Ten. They're a good football team. Just because they're not ranked and they don't have a number next to their school name in the top 25 does not mean that they're not a good football team. Now, if Washington strikes early and often with Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, who's coming off a little bit of an injury the last few weeks, and obviously we know Denzel Boston, his dad is David Boston, and you know what kind of lineage and obviously good genes that he has at the wide receiver position. They got a pretty good offensive line, a good defense as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. This is always a great rivalry between the Ducks and the Huskies, and hopefully it ends up coming down, towards the fourth quarter and down to the wire to make it a good matchup. But again, turnovers will be key, defense will be key, and the main, I think, objective for both teams is winning the line of scrimmage. Whoever wins the O-line, D-line battle is going to win this game, and that'll allow their skill position players to give you a little more than possibly the opponent. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these defenses thrive in this particular environment. Very excited for this matchup. This is a matchup that I haven't missed since I was a kid. I always love watching Oregon and Washington compete. And again, looking forward to Betcher and company getting the job done on the defensive side of the ball. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Let's get it, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And it's a little bit disappointing that, we're not going to be playing, in the Big Ten championship game. But again, you got to give Ohio State and Indiana credit. They were fantastic, this year. And even though Michigan was giving Ohio State a run for their money in the first half, just too much Jeremiah Smith, too much Ohio State was saying, and they have more NFL players and are more of a complete team. And really what it's going to come down to, if Oregon wants to win the Natty, or even get to the championship game, you're probably going to have to end up matching up with both of those teams to be champ. You're not going to be able to probably skate by and not face either one. You're more than likely going to have to play one pretty early. Most likely it'll be Indiana and Oregon at some point. And then in the championship game, if Oregon was even good enough, who knows if they are, but if they were good enough to get there, might be, the Buckeyes and the Ducks in the Natty. And obviously we want a little bit of payback, from the playoff experience that we had with Chip Kelly calling the plays for the Buckeyes last year and Ryan Day, and we got absolutely obliterated in that first half and that first quarter, and the game was already over after the first quarter. So, we had a very, very good season, but again, the Big Ten is definitely king of college football. Not to say that the SEC and a few of the other conferences have some good teams, but now you're starting to see a little bit of the shift where it's no longer, Saban with Alabama and Kirby Smart with Georgia, and then Ohio State third, and then everyone else. Now you're seeing the Buckeyes at top, the Hoosiers, who used to be a basketball school, obviously, in that old school 80s and 90s era, but not really a basketball school even anymore. And it's great to be able to see the Hoosiers rise in the last 2 years, all the way up to number 2 in the college football ranks. Congrats to them. That's only Oregon's only loss. And again, when you go against a team that was top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense, top 10 in special teams, I already knew we were going to lose that game against Indiana, regardless if it was going to be at home or on the road. And again, in this particular matchup, Oregon is also going to be out with their top 2 wide receivers with Decorian Moore, our 5-star blue chipper, and obviously Gary Bryant Jr. Haven't had Evan Stewart the whole season. So we're a little thin at wide receiver, but what makes up for it is we got the best tight end in the entire country in Kenyon Sadiq. We're 5 deep at the running back position. We got the 2 highest ranked freshman running backs in the country on top of Noah Whittington. And then we got a very, very good quarterback in Dante Moore. Love the defense led by Bryce Betcher. So again, even though wide receiver has been a little bit thin and we've had some injuries, on the O-line as well as the wide receiver position and a few defensive guys here and there, we have pretty good depth. And honestly, if we can get hot and healthy at the right time, and especially, getting Gary Bryant Jr. and Decorian Moore back once we get to the college football playoff, maybe those will be the guys that will make the difference on, instead of just getting to the college football playoff and losing right away, that maybe we can end up using those weapons and possibly winning a few matchups and, again, see where the chips fall. And, again, the goal for us Duck fans is always, to try to be able to get to the Natty. Obviously, back when we were in the Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12, the goal was the Rose Bowl, obviously because we didn't really have a team good enough or a coach good enough really to go all the way besides maybe Chip Kelly. And now if you see what Dan Lanning's record is and Chip Kelly's record was, they're right there neck and neck. And as we continue to get a few more wins, Lanning is going to be the best coach, based off win percentage that we've ever had. And then obviously Chip Kelly, we know what he did for us. Rose Bowl, Natty, Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl back in the BCS era, which is something that we've never seen before. We never had athletes like LaMichael James or DeAnthony Thomas, but now we're starting to get that. But most importantly, we're actually getting offensive and defensive linemen that are not undersized and just fast, because that was kind of what the Ducks had, in the last 20 to 25 years. We had guys on the O-line and the D-line, and some were big, but again, if you're going against, SEC or other teams in the Big Ten, those guys were bigger. They were stronger, they were faster, more athletic, and they usually outweighed a lot of the guys on the line by 50 to 60 pounds. So now, with the recruiting with Dan Lanning and what he's been able to build the last few years, we're even with pretty much every team in the country. There's not really anybody that's that much better. Obviously, we know that the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers are the top dogs. A&M lost to Texas and Arch Manning, which is quite a shame. They had a great year, A&M, and obviously that brings in a little bit of a window for Oregon and Georgia to, slightly move up, and then we'll see how far A&M drops down. But again, it's definitely up for grabs in the college football playoff, as well as the NFL, on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. You don't really know, exactly how it's all going to play out, but hopefully it ends up being a fantastic game here today. TJ in the building, what's good? Odin in the building, what's good? How are you? Toby in the building, what's good? Appreciate you, Odin. Odin's got us going with a tenner. Thank you so much. And then after the Duck game is over, we got a WWE event that I'll be watching just with Paisley, and looking forward to that. Odin with a tenner. Appreciate you. Stacks, Racks, and a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. We're at 10, 90 to go to hit the goal. And I appreciate you very much to get on that dono train. And obviously, every type of support that we get based on likes, subs, views, donos, obviously that'll go towards, just the basic things, taking care of the streaming fee, the internet fee, and just taking care of my pup, and just keeping this dream alive day in and day out. Appreciate you guys very, very much. Nice. Late. So it might work out for you. You might be able to kind of swing watching all, and I'll watch with you. I'll probably end up watching that late game as well. So you might be receiving a message from me later on. And yeah, we'll see how Survivor Series War Games goes. And I'll definitely be watching after this is over. Reflect with the tenor. Huskies in the building. What's good? How are you? Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. We're at 20 on the dono train, 80 to go to hit the goal. And, I know a lot of, Ducks and Husky fans hate each other, just like the Ducks and the Beavers and the Huskies and the Cougars, but I might be one of those rare individuals. I'm more of a defensive oriented fan, not to say that I don't like quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, but I do like watching greatness. Regardless if it's on my favorite teams that I root for, or if it ends up being a rival team. And the Huskies, have definitely beat up the Ducks the last few years, when we should have been able to kick field goals. Sometimes fourth down, opportunities were something that, a lot of us fans take the points while they're there. They decided to go for it a few times, and that ended up backfiring on Dan Lanning. Obviously, the matchup now between Oregon and Washington, it's not like Oregon is 6 and Washington is 9 or something of that nature where, they're both highly ranked and, maybe whoever wins, something big could happen where you're going to the Big Ten championship and then you're going to the, college football playoff as one of the top seeds like we saw with Michael Penix Jr. But just because Michael Penix Jr. and, Jalen McMillan and Roma Dunzier and some of those guys from those previous teams are not on this particular team, again, Damon Williams is like a clone of Kyler Murray. He's got 10 touchdowns and no picks at home. Very dangerous. He can run with his legs. He's got a great arm. He's a great, football player with great football IQ. Love him. Jonah Coleman, obviously 14 rushing TDs. Big Ten rank is first, but he's been in and out of the lineup the last few weeks with a minor injury. And then you got David Boston's son, who went to obviously Ohio State, and Denzel. They're obviously on the Huskies. Their best wide receiver. And you're starting to see the skill position players, for the Huskies, even though every team may not be, a championship team, don't ever think for a minute that this team doesn't have enough weapons to beat the Ducks here today. So, again, I'm very looking forward to seeing the stars on each team and see how they shine. O-line and D-line will be definitely very, very critical for these stars to be able to get as much as they can. Damon Williams for the Huskies, Dante Moore for the Ducks. And again, defense led by Bryce Betcher. And again, the Huskies got a lot of fast players on that side of the ball as well. Looking forward to see a very clean, rough and gritty matchup. There'll be words exchanged. There'll be some flags. There definitely is a lot of emotion. And again, if you're not from Oregon or Washington, then it may not fully make sense. But again, with rivalries and the way that they go, you got the Huskies and the Cougs in the Apple Cup. We had the Civil War, but now since with the Cougs and the Beavers still stuck in the Pac-12, it takes away a little bit of the limelight in the rivalry. But again, Ducks and Huskies are always going to have that rivalry. And 118th all-time meeting, Washington leads 63-49-5. Huskies have won 3 of the last 4, I believe. So we will see, and again, I get it. There definitely is a lot of hate and a lot of passion between both of these universities. And again, let's let the best team win. And again, the Huskies are trying to play spoiler. The Ducks are not going to be able to go to the Big Ten championship against the Hoosiers. Obviously already punched their ticket. And the only way the Ducks would have made it is if Michigan would have beat Ohio State, which I knew was not going to happen. And the Buckeyes ended up winning that one 27-9. So congratulations to the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. And let's see what we can get here out of the Huskies and the Ducks. Sappington kicks off 62 yards. Muhammad, fair caught. And we're at first down and 10 at the Washington 25. And again, I've watched quite a few, Husky games. So this is not, something brand new for me. I usually try to watch them every single week with Oregon just to kind of see, how they're going to be doing moving forward here. First down and 10, Jonah Coleman running towards that left side, 4-yard gain. Blake Purchase with the tackle. Second down and 6 at the Washington 29. Let's go, baby. Shotgun set. Uh-oh, Damon Williams. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Do a doughy, baby. Let's go. And we got so many athletic bodies up front, on that defensive line. And then obviously Bear Alexander, the defensive transfer from USC, has been big for us. And again, we got weapons at every single level. If there's a level that could be exploited, it will be Oregon secondary. But again, we will see. They've just started to play a little bit better as of late. Shotgun set. Uh-oh, Damon Williams. Let's go. Third down and 14 at the Washington 21. Let's go. Yeah, hopefully there isn't any major injuries. And again, offensive line and defensive line are going to be critical on who ends up winning this game. Shotgun set. Damon Williams rushing up the middle. 9-yard gain. He is very athletic and fun to watch. It's like watching Kyler Murray just in a college uniform. Fourth down and 5 here for the Huskies at the Washington 30, and this should be a punt here momentarily. I mean, the quickness out of Damon Williams is like if you blink an eye, he might, be 6-7 yards down the field. He is that quick. And again, we're going to have a spy on him at some point in the game. Probably not on every sequence, throughout this game, but at some points, you're going to have a spy on him. And again, that's probably a smart move rather than double teaming, any receiver. He's probably their biggest weapon, obviously, besides Boston and Coleman. But Coleman is coming off an injury for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we have no Gary Bryant Jr. or a DeCorian Moore for the Ducks. So, but we still have enough, with Kenyon Sadiq and the others to step up. And we got the deepest running back room, arguably, in the country. 2 of the top rated freshmen are on the Ducks on top of Noah Whittington. So, again, even though the wide receivers are a little bit thinner than what we would like, we'll see if McClellan and some of the others like Benson can step up here. All right, Odin, I'll message you later on when WWE comes on after this event is over. Shotgun set, Noah Whittington rushing up the middle, 1-yard gain. Rainey Sale there, Zedarius, the linebacker there from the Huskies with the tackle. 2nd down and 9 at the Oregon 30. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Alexander, 60 tackles, 4 for loss. You're always going to have to keep an eye on him. And then the Lolu matchup, that's going to be something that this O-line, D-line battle. Shotgun set, 2-yard run for Whittington towards that left side. And Davis, the D lineman there for the Huskies with a good tackle. This is going to be a lot of emotion. And again, if you can get the crowd out of it early, that would be great. But again, we'll see. Quick no huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore going deep. Jeremiah McClellan, let's go. Let's go, baby. Here we go. A little bit of tempo here for the Ducks. Beautiful catch on that sideline. Let's go. No huddle, shotgun set. Noah Whittington rushing up the middle. 5-yard gain. Feels very Chip Kelly-like here early. 2nd down and 5 after that 5-yard run by Noah Whittington. And again, if we can go a little bit up-tempo like Chip, not the whole game where he would, pretty much have that implemented, but at times kind of running a fast 2-minute drill could definitely keep the Huskies on their heels, potentially keeping a guy in that might be a little bit tired rather than having that substitution at that moment. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore going deep to that right side of the field to Malik Benson, incomplete. 3rd down and 5 at the Washington 28. There we go, 24-50. Let's get there, baby. Shooting for 100 likes, 100 on that Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Last regular season game here in the Big Ten. 10-1 Oregon Ducks, 7-1 in the Big Ten. 8-3, 5-3 in the Big Ten. And Washington really only had one bad loss this year. But again, when you lose in college football, even if it's 1 or 2 games, it definitely brings you quite a bit down, based on, the college football playoff. But don't for a second think that this Husky team isn't good. They are very good. No huddle, shotgun set, pass incomplete to Jeremiah McClellan, incomplete. And that's where we need, Evan Stewart. That's where we need Gary Bryant Jr. That's where we need DeCorian Moore. Can't really rely on McClellan that often. 4th down and 5 here at the Washington 28. And there definitely is going to be a little bit of butterflies when those 2 teams play. You got the Huskies and the Cougs and the Apple Cup, the Ducks and the Beavers. But as we know, the Beavers and Cougs are really not that good, this particular year. And obviously both of these 2 teams have a good record, and definitely excited to see this O-line, D-line battle, which will determine the winner. And that could have been intercepted. Field goal is up by Atticus Sappington, and it is good. 3-0 Oregon. And again, we would love to get touchdowns, but we have to understand we're on the road. The Huskies have passionate fans. They're going to be very, very loud. The sound reflects, off the field based on how their stadium is built like Oregon's. And again, we just got to be able to limit the damage and also maximize our opportunities. And we have to be thankful because on that previous play on 3rd down, that could have been picked. And it almost was. So, again, we have to be very careful with what we do with Dante Moore, as well as the Huskies, and what they do with Damon Williams. Sappington with that field goal attempt is good, 46 yards. And again, not every kicker in college football, those are gimmies. Again, we see NFL kickers miss extra points, 18 yards away, 20 yards away, as well as, even chippies that are in the 20s into the 30s and even the low 40s. So with college, and in the NFL, nothing is really a gimme anymore. And, again, we would have loved to have been able to put up a touchdown early, but we'll take the early field goal, 3-0 Ducks. And obviously the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes will be playing in the Big Ten championship game, both undefeated. And I will be covering that game, obviously, next week. And Oregon is just going to have to be on the outside looking in. And then, again, we'll see where the rankings push everyone, up and down the polls. Obviously after A&M's loss to Texas, there'll be a little bit of movement, you would assume, for Georgia and Oregon. And again, if I had the choice, I think that I don't know if I would want the bye. I would almost want to be like, that team on the outside looking in. So that way we play every week, even if we're playing good teams, to get that continuity and chemistry. And yeah, you obviously have a chance to lose, but if you kind of do the blueprint as the Buckeyes did, kind of looking on the outside looking in. And again, it definitely favored, the teams that didn't have the 2 to 3 weeks off, and we'll see if that ends up being the case in 2025 or if they could buck the trend. So. Yeah, Sappington has been money for us this year. I mean, he single-handedly, won the game for us with Iowa. He's a guy that can hit 3 or 4 field goals, even field goals late. Obviously we don't want to have it to come down to that, but it is kind of nice to know that we have a reliable kicker for the most part. He's not going to be 100%. No one is in college football. But again, we feel confident with him. I think up to 50 yards. If it's going to be 50 yards, just like any kicker, even if you're an All-American, that's where it gets a little tricky when you go 50 to 60, even for the college kids at that point. But some of them can do it, but it's all about consistency in college football. Yeah, and I think the way the bracket will end up playing out, more than likely we'll play Indiana first, and then the Buckeyes will be on the other side of the bracket. And if we were, to be good enough, maybe it would be Buckeyes and the Ducks if we were able to get to that, point. And again, I wouldn't want it any other way. Play the Hoosiers in the playoffs, try to get payback for the loss this year. And then if I could play any team in the college football championship in the Natty, it would be the Buckeyes. You don't want to stay away from greatness. You want to be able to challenge it. And again, if you want to gain respect, you have to go against the best. And luckily, for us, the Big Ten has the 2 best teams in the country this year with the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. Sappington kicks off. 65 yards, and that'll be a touchback. First down and 10 at the Washington 25 for Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston. Yeah, Indiana is very good, though. Top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense, top 10 in special teams when they played us. And that's, if you have a formula like that, that's how you end up beating teams like the Ducks and the Buckeyes. And again, you have to understand how much better they are this year compared to last year's team, not just at the quarterback position with Mendoza, but everything, in between that as well. Damon Williams, sacked. Let's go, Wyatt. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Because you got to understand, Indiana, kind of got on the scene last year, and they played the Buckeyes good in the first half, but then got, kind of smacked in the second half last year. But this year's team, honestly, Indiana could beat the Buckeyes. And normally I wouldn't say that if I didn't really believe it, but they're good enough. Again, with the way the teams are structured, but would they? That's the big question. But they are good enough talent-wise. Shotgun set, Damon Williams. Incomplete, going to Chris Lawson. Wide receiver 8 there on the Huskies. Third down and 17 at the Washington 18. And if you've noticed this game early on, the D-line for Oregon is winning the battle, and we've already gotten a few sack lunches on Damon Williams early in the first quarter. And again, if we keep playing like this, we might be in that 6, 7, 8, 9 range by the time the game is up. Nice job by the Ducks. Automo in the building. What's good? And we'll definitely be getting back to Mariners coverage in March once we get to that spring season at that point. Great hustle there by the Ducks. Little toe drag swag there. Yeah, I think you're going to have to replay that. He looked like he might have been able to get that foot down. first replay, no way. And then they, had a couple different angles of this replay. He might have got, because remember, you only need to get 1 foot in college, not 2. So especially when you're at the sideline with the toe drag swag, or just being able to get that 1 foot down, even if it's the tip of the foot, sometimes that's enough. I mean, it kind of looks like he's floating in air here a little bit. I mean, the foot is on the ground, but man, that is really close. I think they're going to overturn this, though. Because, again, if Oregon made a play like this, we would want, the correct call as well. But we'll find out here in a moment. It's good to be able to, if you're going to have certain reviews, you don't want it to, take forever, but you want the call to be correct. Yeah, Bear Alexander, about 3 times the size. Shotgun set, Damon Williams. Pass incomplete. And now that's going to be 4th down and 12 at the Washington 23. I mean, a lot of these plays are very close, when you see the foot floating, and, it all depends on when the person has the football in their hands and when that toe comes down. But I think they got the right call there. And again, the offensive line is having a lot of issues here early for the Huskies based on the athleticism of the Ducks up front. Great defense there by Betcher and company. And Luke Dunn with the punt, 40 yards, fair caught by Malik Benson. 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 37. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Early 3-0 lead. And again, if you've been watching this game very closely, it's about the O-line and the D-line, the defense, the coaching, and the play calling, but primarily the O-line and the D-line. Whoever wins the matchup in the trenches is, going to win this game. Just like if you ended up watching Black Friday between the Bears and the Eagles, a lot of people thought the Eagles would easily win that matchup because the Bears had an easy schedule. But if you can run the rock, in college football or the NFL, and you can impose your will, nothing is more defeating to you as a team when you can't stop the run. And that's how the Bears were able to beat the Eagles. And again, we'll see if the Ducks can do the same thing to kind of impose our will against the Huskies. We got to be able to run efficiently. We're going to a commercial break. 3-0 early here with the Ducks. But I'm proud of this Husky team. I like being able to root for the, Pacific Northwest teams. Seeing obviously the Beavers and the Cougs still in the Pac-12, and obviously the history and the tradition is completely wiped away. And, honestly, I wish that the Pac-12 was still going, because there was a little bit more parity, with the top teams, the middle and the bottom feeders, that even the bottom feeders could end up beating a great team. But now in the Big Ten, with all the teams, being merged together, now it's like you almost have 2 conferences in one, where you have like almost 20 teams. It's a little too much, and again, you got really good teams at the top, and then you got the second tier teams, and then you got kind of in the middle towards the bottom, and it's kind of garbage. I mean, if we're really being honest, there's not a lot of great teams, towards the middle and bottom. And again, they're trying to make super conferences. I get it, with the Big Ten and the SEC, but I still wish the Pac-12 was still strong, but I get it. It's all about money. And again, there's more money to be able to be made, and there's a reason why they chose the 4 teams. Now, obviously with the Huskies and the Ducks and the Trojans, and obviously the Bruins. They did Trojans and Bruins and Huskies and Ducks based off the rivalry. But instead of bringing in the Bruins, that's more of a basketball school, they probably should have brought in Utah. If they brought in Utah into the Big Ten, that would actually have given them more prestige than UCLA, in my opinion. And I think that they've earned it, based off their coaching as well as their great play over the years. That would have been the team that I would have selected if I was a part of the Big Ten committee. Much better than UCLA. And I know UCLA used to be good at certain things, but primarily they haven't really been the greatest in college football in some time. So 3-0 Oregon as we're waiting for the commercial break. Pretty close competitive matchup with the Trojans, last week, and again, we should be able to exploit, obviously, the offensive line for the Huskies here today. And again, we need to be able to get some of the receivers to step up. And if not, got to go to Kenyon Sadiq and pound that rock, with the 5 running backs that we got in that running back room, but primarily with the 2 amazing freshmen and Noah Whittington. First down and 10, Jordan Davison, a fabulous freshman running up the middle there towards that left side. 5-yard gain. Second down and 5 for the Ducks. Quick, no huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore, pass complete, short left to Jordan Davison, 3-yard pass. Third down and 2 for the Ducks here at the Oregon 45. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore. And incomplete to De'Air Hill Jr., 4th down and 2 at the Oregon 45. Now, this is what makes me kind of, question the play calling by Will Stein. When you got 3 fabulous running backs, what are we doing passing, on 3rd down and 1 and 3rd down and 2? Like, if we didn't have any running backs or only one that was good, then fine, pass it. But when you got this much talent, and I know you want to spread it out and whatnot, but you got to be better with the play calling here. You can't get too cute, with some of these play calls. And again, a shitty play calling drive, pretty much just ended that drive within the first couple minutes, and you got to be better with the play calling. And obviously Dante Moore missed his target there. I mean, if that throw was on, but you have to realize you're throwing to a freshman running back. You're not throwing to a wide receiver or Kenyon Sadiq. So you got to lead the receiver, not throw behind him. And that's going to be a punt for Oregon. And obviously, if this was the Chip Kelly era, he probably would have went for it, but this is the correct call. Ferguson Reynolds with the punt, 41 yards, and about a 1 or 2 yard return here from Roebuck. And that'll be first down and 10 at the Washington 15. So it's like right now you're seeing the Huskies get exploited on the O-line, and then the Ducks with questionable play calling by Will Stein, the offensive coordinator. So those are the things to look at as we progress into the first quarter, transition into the second, as we also go into the second half, obviously a little bit later here today. 3-0 Oregon as we go to another commercial break. Let them know. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Number 6, Oregon, 10-1, 7-1 in the Big Ten, going against the Washington Huskies, unranked. But, again, I feel like, the team should have been ranked, throughout the year. But again, I know there's, 100 Division I teams, but again, they, had a couple bad losses, but still, I think earlier in the year, they should have gotten a little bit more love. And you can definitely tell a lot of the voters don't watch West Coast football. They don't stay up late to watch to see like what talent is there. And again, Damon Williams, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, kind of like Kyler Murray. Jonah Coleman, one of the best running backs in the country. And then you got Denzel Boston, a very solid, one of the best wide receivers. But you don't really hear people going out of their way to talk about the Huskies. And even though they're 8-3, 5-3 in the Big Ten, that most of their wins have been magnificent, especially at home. 10 touchdowns, no picks for Damon Williams. And some of those road matchups are tough, just like any team that goes on the road. But again, we will see what Washington does here with 8:52 left in the first quarter if they can get on the board. Yeah, and that happens sometimes, I mean, losing to Ohio State and losing to Michigan and losing to Wisconsin. The Wisconsin one was bad, right? That was the one that you should have won, right? And then anytime you go against Ohio State or Michigan, and even though Michigan wasn't as good as they were maybe a couple years ago, going into the game, they were 15th going against the Buckeyes today. So losing to, the Michigan Wolverines or the Ohio State Buckeyes, even if that was the Ducks, sometimes that happens, right? But the one that really hurts is after losing those games back to back, is losing, to Wisconsin by 3. There is no scenario on planet Earth that Washington should have lost to that team. And I think every Husky fan would agree with that. That was painful, even for me, and I'm a Duck fan, because I want them to win more games so this game can mean a little bit more for them to be 9-2 rather than 8-3. And they're like, oh, who did you lose to? Buckeyes and the Wolverines. No one's going to bat an eye, to say, oh, the Huskies aren't good. Those are hard teams to beat. But that Wisconsin game, that was the one that kind of ruined, quote unquote, the season for the Huskies last week. Much better than that team. There's no doubt about that. Shotgun set, Damon Williams rushing right, 6-yard gain. Bear Alexander, the USC transfer, with the tackle there. We love him. 2nd down and 4 at the Washington 21. But I've watched pretty much every Husky game throughout the year, which is very rare. I don't think very many Duck fans are like me that go out of their way to watch rival games from beginning to end. But, I'm a fan of greatness and talent. So, if the Huskies are on, they're usually on at a different time than Oregon. I'll definitely, soak in, what kind of talent that they have, spy a little bit, but also appreciate the greatness that I'm seeing in that particular school as well. We can still be rivals, but I root for them to win when they're not playing us. I want to see Pacific Northwest teams get some respect. And Muhammad rushing towards that left side. Oh, Adam, I see you. 1st down, Huskies. 22-yard gain. Brandon Finney Jr. with the tackle, the DB there. But a nice bouncing to the outside run there. And good blocking downfield after Finney comes in and gets him with the shoulder. Great run there. And that's the biggest run and the biggest play of the day for the Huskies up to this point. And, it's this great history between the Huskies and the Ducks. Even though obviously a lot of us, are going to be very heated, passionate rivals with the schools. But again, I love watching them play and, I wish them the best. Just not when they play us. Muhammad rushing towards that right side. 5-yard gain. Ashton Porter for the Ducks with the tackle. 2nd down and 5 at the Washington 48. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. We're at 20, 80 to go on the dono train, and we're looking for 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And also the fans are so passionate, in Washington as well as in Oregon. It's great to be able to see all the gear, the gloves, the chains, the Darth Vader custom masks. I love all that. Little screen pass. And Muhammad, nice 8-yard pass towards that sideline, getting picked up by 10 of his teammates there. 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 44. Shotgun set. Damon Williams going short right to Amari Evans and complete. 2nd down and 10 at the Oregon 44. And again, we need to be able to get pressure. And again, the Huskies not having a whole lot of luck running inside, but bouncing it to the outside. It looks like they found, what's working for them here early. And we already have a few sack lunches on Damon Williams already, so they're trying to think of ways to be able to avoid any more. Shotgun set. And Muhammad rushing up the middle, and you're not going to get a whole lot of yards up the middle against the Ducks, regardless on who you are, unless you're like the Buckeyes or maybe the Hoosiers with their offensive line and their talent at skill positions, including running back. 3rd down and 10 at the Oregon 44. Oregon's D-line, linebacking core, and defense overall have been the strong suit for the Ducks, even though Dante Moore, and the offense have been getting all the love. Really, the defense is really what's been able to keep us in games and to win clutch games, besides Indiana this year. Shotgun set, Damon Williams going short middle to Desmond Roebuck, incomplete. 4th down and 10 at the Oregon 44. So you're starting to see a little bit of momentum, for both teams, and we've also had drive stall a little bit, but you also have to give credit to the defense. And again, the biggest bugaboo for Oregon is probably our offensive coordinator in Will Stein, and obviously the offensive line early getting pushed around the Huskies by the Oregon D-line, and we'll see if they make proper adjustments as we get into halftime and later in this first half. Love me some Betcher, favorite player on the team. Great defensive leader on senior day against USC. They actually got him in on a halfback dive to score a touchdown last game in front of the family and friends. Very cool. You normally don't see linebackers getting halfback dive attempts at the end of games, and I think they're going to label that a touchback, though. Huskies, great effort running down there on special teams to get that down around the 3 or 4 yard line, but I think they're going to change that call to being a touchback. Unfortunate mishap there, for the Huskies, because if the Huskies were able to pin Oregon at the 3 yard line, there's a chance for an interception, a fumble, a pick six, a fumble for a touchdown, or a quick 3 and out. And then you get the ball at the 50, and then you end up finally getting your first field goal points of the day, or maybe a touchdown. But unfortunately, the call gets changed. We get a touchback, and it'll be 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 20 when we get back from the commercial break. Good game here early so far. Number 6, Oregon, up 3-0 on the Washington Huskies. Let's go, Ducks. And I think like at the beginning of the year, I feel like Ducks fans and, Oregon fans and just college football fans in general, maybe didn't really realize how good the team was, and obviously we have weaknesses since we weren't able to beat Indiana, and we know how great the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers are this year. But again, the only thing that you can ask for after a tough loss against Ohio State last year in the college football playoff, where they ended up going all the way and being champions, and then obviously losing to Indiana, earlier this year, is if you can get a second chance for payback. Just like when we beat the Buckeyes at Autzen at the regular season, they got payback later in the college football playoff, and that's the one that really mattered the most. And Indiana beat us early in the year, but we want to get a second chance at them. And the way that the college football playoff is landing, more than likely, we're going to have a chance to, go against both of those teams if we were able, to, face Indiana first at some point, beat them. Who knows if we can? And then obviously if we were able to continue our dream, playing the Buckeyes in the Natty would be the team that I would want if we were able to get to that point. But again, we have to wait and see if we're even good enough to get to that point. It definitely could be the Buckeyes and, Georgia, or it could be the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers, in the Natty. There's a lot of different possibilities, but it makes you kind of wonder, after A&M lost to Arch Manning in Texas, right? Does Georgia, Oregon, and any of the other teams in the top 10 have a chance to go all the way? Or are we going to get a Big Ten champion out of, Ohio State or Indiana, going all the way just like the Buckeyes did last year? We'll have to wait and find out. Shotgun set. Noah Whittington rushing up the middle for a 6-yard gain. 2nd down and 4 at the Oregon 26. Yeah, I live in Oregon. Lived here my whole life. Been following the Ducks since the 80s. So, back in the day, they were only winning like a game or two in a season. So in the last 25 years, with the Joey Harrington era, first getting us a little bit of love and pub, we definitely have come a long way. Still have, no championships, but again, that's what we're striving for with Dan Lanning. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore, pass incomplete to Kenyon Sadiq, the best tight end in the country. 3rd down and 4 at the Oregon 26. And I do like this team better than last year's team. I like Dante Moore more than Dylan Gabriel. When you have a left-handed offense compared to a right-handed offense, it's a little different. But again, the defense has been really the selling point for us this year. And Dante Moore, shotgun set. Uh-oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch by Robinson on Dante Moore. And now we've seen the D-lines for both teams being able to kind of fight through. 4th down and 12 at the Oregon 18. In Oregon, there's a lot of places. We have some of the most extensive food carts, not just downtown in Portland, but in Beaverton and some of the suburb areas. So again, really any type of food that you're looking for, you'll be able to find it, whether it's Mexican food, Indian food, Asian food. But the food carts, that they have in a lot of the restaurants that we have out there, it just kind of depends on your preference. Captain in the building, what's good? And Washington, one of the best spots when I end up going to, either Mariner games, or if I'm going to go see like a Seahawk game or something like that, if I'm going to be in that part of the state. Sisters and Brothers, they have Nashville hot chicken, and they are one of the best in the Pacific Northwest overall. All right, now we're getting a little chippy as you see Duck and Husky players chirping a little bit extra there, getting a little physical in each other's faces. Flag comes out, and we'll see who they will call this on. Captain with a $5, appreciate you. Every dollar counts, my guy. Thank you so much. Stacks, Racks with the little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Another $5 holla on the Dono train. We're at 25, 75 to go to hit the goal. Let him know, TJ. Takes 1 second to hit that like button, regardless if you're a Husky fan, a Duck fan, or just a fan of the NWSF. Hope you did as well. And you already know that it's going to get chippy between the Ducks and the Huskies. Regardless of record, both could have terrible records and they're still going to go at each other. Both could have amazing records and be undefeated. And, it's even going to be more dramatic like it has been in the last couple of years where the Huskies have had the upper hand, not just in the Michael Penix Jr. era, but again, they've won, I think, 3 out of the last 4. So we're definitely looking for a little bit of payback. It's harder to win in Seattle than it is in Autzen. No doubt about that. And, one thing that I admire, about the Huskies, besides the colors and the uniforms and the coaching they have, is the fan base. Very passionate, very educated. And again, a lot of the Husky fans are Mariner fans, Seahawk fans. And again, you can tell. Shotgun set. Muhammad rushing up the middle, 9-yard gain. Out of Muhammad, Bryce Betcher there with the tackle. And 2nd down and 1 at the Oregon 35. Let them know, TJ. Let's get it. Takes 1 second to hit that like button so that way we can get to 100. And once we hit 100, then we can shoot for 150 to 2 possibly before the stream ends. Remember, this is the last regular season game. So, again, we're going into the Big Ten Championship next week with the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. The Ducks are unable to play in that game. And then obviously the next time we do a Duck game, we'll find out who we're playing in the playoff. Could be someone like Notre Dame or Miami. Indiana, we'll find out and we will see. Shotgun set, rushing towards that left side. Adam Muhammad is really finding a little bit of rhythm here early. 14-yard run, first down, Huskies, move the chains. And again, running up the middle, they haven't been able to do a whole lot with Bear Alexander there, but bouncing it to the outside, preferably that left side, has been able to give them some good chunk gains here early and good blocking up front. Shotgun set, Damon Williams, intercepted. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Big pick by the Ducks. And I didn't see that coming. I figured after them running the ball, they could have just kept running the ball and they would have eventually scored with Muhammad. And again, we know how great Damon Williams is. He's like Kyler Murray, but that was a huge interception there by the Ducks as they try to go for the touchdown on Oregon. Not so fast. Not so fast. We got the safety over the top, baby. Let's go. Go Ducks. Wow. And that's going to be a touchback. Well, Will Stein is not the greatest play caller either, Captain. This is just a great play here by the defender. You know, going over the top, leaving his man, and then getting the double team and making the play. And obviously, if we're watching the coverage, it could have been pass interference on the defense on Oregon. Could have been pass interference on the offense. They were a little, pushy grabby there, and then you ended up getting the pick. Kennedy with a pick last week. Kennedy with a pick here today. Look at the athleticism, as if he is the wide receiver. And that's what you dream about when you have DBs, you know, at the corner and safety position, guys going over the top or cutting a route and finding a way and saving a touchdown. Nice job, Kennedy. Let's go. Let's go. Ducks with the ball. Dante Moore, shotgun set, rushing towards that left side. And about a 6-yard gain there by Dante Moore. And again, you know, you have to be very self-aware as a play caller. And again, there's going to be times where, you know, you can test the secondary for Oregon. But again, based on how the running gains were 10 to 14 yards, why didn't they continue, running the football? And if they would have with Muhammad, I think they would have ended up scoring a touchdown or at the very least a field goal. No huddle, shotgun set. Noah Whittington running up the middle, 3-yard gain. Bryce Butler for the Huskies with the tackle. 3rd down and 1 at the Oregon 29. I don't think Fish is that bad of a coach. Again, losing to the Buckeyes and losing to Michigan, there's no shame in that. But losing to Wisconsin is really what killed the season for you guys. You guys should be 9-2 playing against 10-1 Oregon with a chance to, knock us off, and whatnot. But, again, sometimes that happens and, play calling and efficiency, those are key. But I know a lot of us Oregon fans, we're not very happy with Will Stein. I mean, we could go 11-0, 10-1 every year and still, would love for him to go somewhere else. I just feel like with the weapons that we have, sometimes he's good, but a lot of times you're kind of scratching your head with some of the play calls. But, I think we could say that pretty much for any team. First down and 10, shotgun set. Jordan Davison, 2-yard run up the middle. 2nd down and 8 at the Oregon 33 with less than a minute to go here in the first quarter. I mean, imagine if he were to leave and you could get someone like Lane Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin could take the Huskies to heights that they haven't seen in a while. I'll tell you that. But again, we'll see if Ole Miss, LSU, or wherever he decides to, plant his coaching services. But Lane Kiffin would bring a swagger and energy to the Huskies that they haven't seen in a while. We know DeBoer left and went to Alabama, but, what would the team be like if DeBoer was still here compared to Fish? We don't really know. And Jamari Johnson with the catch, and that's going to be the end of the first quarter, 3-0 Oregon. like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. End of the first quarter, 3-0 Ducks. And I'm not really shocked, by the score. I figured, 3-0, 3-3, 7-3, something of that nature. I didn't think it was going to be either team with 14 or more. Again, both of the teams are disciplined. We know each other inside and out. Obviously, we have a little bit of an advantage with our D-line compared to their O-line with some sack lunches early. But again, they were able to get some pressures, and a sack lunch on Dante Moore as well. So the sacks are, going to be a factor. But again, the play calling. Adam Muhammad has been bouncing outside for, 8, 10, 14-yard gains off that left side. Why stop giving him the ball when that's going to be the thing that you're getting the most? You're going to be able to get Damon Williams with his legs at some point running in for a touchdown or getting a big first down with his legs, right? You're going to get Denzel Boston with an opportunity to get in the end zone once or twice, but again, if you're going to be going kind of slowly but surely, you got to go with what's working. And again, to be able to throw that pass in double coverage where we ended up getting the Kennedy interception, which could have ended up being a 7-3 Husky lead if they just kept going to Muhammad for a couple more rushing plays towards that left side. Jacob in the building. What's good? Let's go Ducks. Competitive matchup here early. And they had Oregon favored by a 6.5 point favorite. But, realistically, could we win by 7 to 10 or more? Yeah. But depending on the turnovers and the play by the O-line and the D-line at the line of scrimmage, the final score could end up being under, 7 points. It's possible, especially if the Huskies really get going on offense and if their defense can end up getting a big play on Dante Moore. So. But the Huskies are fun. Out of all the teams, the Huskies are the only team other than Oregon that I've watched pretty much every game from beginning to end. And obviously I'm watching Ohio State and I'm watching Indiana, I'm watching Michigan. Anytime, Georgia or any of the other top teams are on, but I'm not usually watching full games every single game. Every once in a while there might be a game that I'll watch in entirety in the SEC or in one of the other conferences, but Huskies kind of got a bad rap in that Wisconsin game. If they would have won that, they would be vibing a little bit differently, coming into this game with a 9-2 record instead of 8-3. And losing 3 in a row in college football is not ideal. To have to play Ohio State, Michigan back-to-back is unfair. I don't know why the schedule holders ended up doing that to the Huskies, but, it is what it is. But if, they were able to win that Wisconsin game, that's really the soul-crushing loss for the Huskies this year. End of the first quarter, 3-0 Oregon. I had to go grab a water. Shotgun set. And deep throw to Malik Benson towards the sideline. Incomplete. And that might be a PI there on the Huskies. Yeah, and again, baby steps. It's not like Michael Penix Jr., Roma Dunzier, Jalen McMillan, are on the team. And you still have Boston, Coleman, and, Damon Williams, Jr., but still, it's a different type of vibe with the roster, compared to the previous teams. Shotgun set. And Jordan Davison rushing towards that left side for a 2-yard gain. Melinius Davis with the tackle for the Huskies. 2nd down and 8 at the Washington 39. 77 days until spring training. I love it. I can't wait, to see if we end up bringing polo back or not. And, if spring training games are going to be televised, through the new deal, through the MLB on their app for the Mariners, since they're no longer en route. I definitely will be doing some games, even in spring training, if they're going to be televised, depending on what it's going to cost. And, but again, I would love to be able to do a few spring training games before the regular season if they are available. Shotgun set. Dante Moore, complete short right to the best tight end in the country, Kenyon Sadiq. 3-yard gain. 3rd down and 5 at the Washington 36. Let's go. Takes 1 second to smash that like button for the numbers. And that'll help the algorithm to get more people that are looking for Huskies, Ducks, or a college football stream to come through. Shotgun set, no huddle, Dante Moore. Use those legs. Go, baby, go. 6-yard gain. 1st down. Ducks. Move the chains. Vincent Holmes, the safety, with the tackle there. 1st down and 10 at the Washington 30. Let's go, baby. Shotgun set, no huddle, Dante Moore going short right and complete. 2nd down and 10 at the Washington 30. 3-0 Duck lead here in the second quarter. And it looked like that ball kind of slipped out of Dante Moore's hands there. No huddle, shotgun set, Dante Moore, pass complete, short middle to Kenyon Sadiq. 3-yard gain. 3rd down and 7 at the Washington 27. Husky defense playing well, up to this point. Come on, Dante. And again, you may have to see Dante Moore and Damon Williams Jr. run their, 1st downs to kind of extend, the drives and to move the chains from time to time. Shotgun set, Dante Moore going to Noah Whittington. 6-yard pass, just short of the marker. 4th down and 1 at the Washington 21. Do we take a field goal here with Atticus Sappington, or do we roll the dice and go for the QB sneak or a halfback dive with one of the 3 stud running backs that we have? I mean, you can hand it off to Whittington. You can go to Davison, the freshman, or Hill, the other freshman, and they are the 2 highest ranked freshman running backs in the country. And we have Whittington. So, I mean, you got 4 options. Let's see what we do here. 12 for 19 on 4th down and 1 or 4th and short. So we got a pretty good percentage on 4th down. Let's see what we do here. Shotgun set. And it looks like timeout was called before the snap, or at least that's what they're saying. And obviously, if the timeout didn't go through, Huskies would have had to stop right there. And again, if you're going 4th down and 1 and you got a good O-line and a good running back, squad, why are you running trips left, and with only 1 running back back there? You're asking to fail. It's better to line up in I formation or, to have it, kind of in a bunch goal line formation instead of trying to, like the team knows you're not more than likely throwing it to the sideline, for a screen pass. in that situation. So those are the type of play calls we're talking about as Duck fans with Will Stein. It's like you're doing plays in the wrong order. You can run that play on 3rd down, but you don't run that play on 4th down and 1, and you want Dante Moore under center, so he can sneak it or hand it off rather than him being in shotgun set. You have him in shotgun set, that plays, to the Huskies' favor. But again, that's why a lot of us Duck fans don't want Will Stein as our offensive coordinator. Be better. You're not fooling anybody, even the fans at home. No one was fooled by that. No one thought you were throwing it to the sideline on trips left. Nobody, not one fucking person. Now 4th down and 1. Shotgun set. Whittington rushing towards that right side. Go, baby, go. 1st down, Duck. 17-yard gain by Noah Whittington. Move the chains. Here we go. Nice late pitch. And look at the speed by Whittington. There we go. No huddle, quick. Shotgun set. Whittington running up the middle. 3-yard gain. And we got 2nd and goal at the Washington 1. Let's go. We're on the brink of getting a tutty here. Let's get it. No huddle, shotgun set, Dante Moore up the middle, touchdown, Oregon. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Go Ducks. And that's a great play call right there. That's what the 4th down call should have been. RPO, he hangs on to it. Boom. Dante Moore getting into the end zone. And that's something that, Damon Williams Jr. can do as well. And he's even faster than Dante Moore. So again, you have to make sure, even if you got an undersized quarterback, that doesn't mean that they can't execute a play like that. And obviously you see the DN ends up biting, on that halfback potential dive. And you see Dante Moore pull it away, and we love that. Atticus Sappington. Extra point is up, and it is good. 10-0 Oregon. And now we're just waiting for the scoreboard to update on, obviously, ESPN side. Nice job, Ducks. Great job, Ducks. I had to refresh everything to see, but, again, this usually will happen at some point or another, whether we're doing Mariners or we're doing NFL or we're doing Ducks for college football or, sometimes you end up getting these people that end up walking away from their computer or they're, doing something else and they need to be able to catch up with everything. So score is not 3-0, score is 10-0 Oregon as we wait for ESPN and their workers to do their jobs. And now we'll see if Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston can end up getting into the end zone for the Husky fans. Captain says we're at 60. And it's 10-0 Oregon. Just don't know why ESPN is behind the 8 ball, but it is what it is. Hopefully they'll be able to get caught up here sooner than later. Live ball dropped. And nice return there by Muhammad. "56-yard kickoff by Atticus Sappington. 36-yard return there by Adam Muhammad, who's been their bright spot at this point. Keep giving him the ball. Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, you can update the scoreboard, my guys. I mean, and I get it if it ends up being something where you have to wait, you know, momentarily, you know, like a few seconds, but like being minutes behind is unacceptable. Someone hit the edit button, add a 1 and a 0 to make it 10-0 Oregon. I've already been refreshing multiple times to see if it will change, but, you know. Jonah Coleman rushing towards that right side, 2-yard loss. Finney and Purchase there with the tackle. 3rd down and 8 at the Washington 47. And obviously Jonah Coleman being a little banged up and hurt the last 3 games, obviously hasn't been ideal as well. And again, you know, we've seen the Mariners in this type of situation where, you know, there's been a home run or an RBI and it takes them a little while, you know, to get things updated. But again, they're still updating other things. There we go. Oh, look, someone got back from a bathroom break and didn't think that anyone would notice that you were gone for 10 minutes. And the game has already been 10-0 for a while now. Hello. Shotgun set, Damon Williams. Pass complete to Omari Evans. 1st down, Huskies. Move the chains. There we go. Mike in the building. What's good? Yeah, but also you can't run pass, run, you know, unless your offense is really on the right level. Most teams run, pass, you know, and that's how it goes on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. You know, you can only run pass, run, you know, if you have elite, you know, wide receivers and an elite O-line, you know, and then you know, try to be a little tricky, you know, and then obviously running like a draw on that 3rd down and whatnot, but you have to have the personnel to run pass, run. You can't run, you know, run, pass like most teams do and then want pass, run if you don't have the personnel to run that. And you're going against a very strong, you know, Duck defense. So, you know, again, you know, it's one thing to run that type of scheme maybe against like Wisconsin, but you're not going to be able to efficiently run that against Oregon. Call on the field is a completed pass by Washington. Let's see if it holds up. Sarah in the building, how are you? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving as well, Mike. Oh, wow, you did get the snow. Stay warm. And looks like it's going to be incomplete. Call returned. It hit the ground. 4th down and 8 at the Washington 47. You know, and again, when you're having great results with Adam Muhammad, you know, run the ball. You know, if Jonah Coleman is still injured and he, you know, was in and out for the last 2 to 3 games, obviously he's not 100%. So Adam Muhammad is. So keep running to the outside with him, and maybe you would have already had 3 or maybe even 7 or 10 at this point. You know, and again, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses on your own team and also the strengths and weaknesses on the team you're going against. And normally Damon is going to make that throw, even though running, you know, on the fly, and just a little bad luck there for the Huskies on that drive. Ken in the building, what's good? And Luke Dunn with the punt, 29 yards and out of bounds at the Oregon 24. Yeah, I mean, obviously us Oregon fans were rooting for Michigan to win, but, you know, it'll be a great Big Ten championship between the 2 best teams in the country. I will be live streaming that next weekend. And then Oregon will hopefully have a chance to get payback on the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes in the college football playoff. All right, we're going to another commercial break with Oregon leading 10-0 here with 9:11 left in the second quarter. $50-inch TV for $170. There you go. Indigo in the building. Go Ducks. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We're at 25 on the dono train. Still need another 40 to 50-ish to hit the goal, to hit 100. I know we'll be able to get there here shortly. And let's see if we've gained any subs since the last commercial break. I think coming into the stream, we needed 25 subs to get the goal, and we've gotten 4 since the last commercial break. So shout out to those 4 individuals that have subbed that are watching. Appreciate you. And now we only need a LaMichael James, a 21 to get to 23,300. Let's go. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great Black Friday. Tried to be able to do the Bears and Eagles, but I couldn't make a thumbnail in time to my standard, so I ended up watching that game. And the Bears are for real. You know, they can run the football. Ben Johnson definitely should be in the running for Coach of the Year. And again, the Eagles offense still having issues, can't stop the run. And again, that was the game that we needed to see if the Bears are for real or are they just playing shitty teams like they did before they played the Eagles yesterday. And I was very impressed, you know, with what I was able to watch there. And I still think the Eagles are a good team, but they're clearly nowhere near as good as they were last year. And there is a chance that they won't be in the Super Bowl, you know, this season. Not only it could be the Rams, you know, as obviously the front runner, but maybe the Seahawks, you know, are the second best team. And maybe even the Bears, after what they did to Philadelphia, are higher than them as well. Maybe even Green Bay is higher than them. We'll have to kind of wait and see. You know, there's going to be a lot of shifting and movement, a lot of great teams in the NFC this year. But that was definitely an eye-opener for Ben Johnson and the Bears, a huge win on the road in Philadelphia. And I know the Eagles, you know, they're obviously satisfied with their, you know, championship and Lombardi from last year, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to go back-to-back. Hell, they might not even make, you know, the Super Bowl or maybe even the NFC championship game if they don't get shit turned around. Shotgun set, Dante Moore, pass complete to Malik Benson. 5-yard gain, second down and 5 at the Oregon 29. I wouldn't say the Eagles are trash. It's just that, you know, the offensive line is not as good or as healthy with no Lane Johnson. And obviously Jalen and Saquon and Brown and Devontae Smith and Goddard, you know, they're just not playing, you know, the same type of football as last year. I still think they're a playoff team, you know, but they're not one of the top dogs anymore. You know, they're definitely going to be sliding down. But they're not trash. They're still good. You know, that's still a good football team, but maybe not a championship, you know, caliber football team. But again, we still have another 5 to 6 weeks for them to either get better or get worse or to stay where they're at. No huddle, shotgun set. De'Ara Hill Jr., 6-yard gain towards that left side. Love him. First down, Ducks. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the Oregon 35. I mean, I watched the Huskies, you know, pretty much through and through, regardless of their record. You know, it's the only team besides Oregon that I go out of my way to watch every single game beginning to end. And, you know, they had a great season, but, you know, losses to the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. And then the one that really killed the Husky momentum was losing last week to Wisconsin. That's a game that they should have never lost. And, again, they should be 9-2 right now. But, again, sometimes, you know, at home or on the road, you know, your best effort isn't shown. And sometimes a team that's not as good as you ends up getting that dub like Wisconsin did on the Huskies last week. 7:24 and counting. 10-0 Oregon. Second down and 8 at the Oregon 37. Eagles beat Green Bay, but that was earlier in the year. So if you're looking at how Green Bay has been playing lately compared to Philadelphia, you tell me who's playing better football, Green Bay or Philadelphia. Green Bay is. You may not like Green Bay, but, they're playing better as of right now, and a lot can change in the last 5 to 6 weeks. So, but it kind of feels like the Eagles might be, like the 4th or 5th best team in the NFC, not, top 2 or top 3 like they were. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore, short right to Kenyon Sadiq, the best tight end in the country. 2nd down and 5 at the Washington 40. Cowboys are playing good football lately as well. So, I like the way that Dallas has been playing lately. They look like a playoff team, if we're really being honest. Obviously, the NFC South is very weak with my Buccaneers and the Panthers and Saints and Falcons. And, honestly, the only team that would be worth a playoff spot if we can earn it is Tampa, but it looks like Tampa might be a pretender compared to all the other strong teams being contenders, maybe besides Philly. So, again, Detroit and a few others, we'll see where it goes. But Dallas definitely looks like, that if they can get enough wins, that they might be able to do some damage if they can get there. 3-yard run, no huddle by Noah Whittington, rushing right up the middle, 3-yard gain. 3rd down and 2 at the Washington 37. Yeah, and the Panthers are obviously better this year than they have been in a long, long time, but still they got a little ways to go. And, even with all the injuries that Tampa has, Baker's playing this weekend against the Cardinals. Hopefully that goes well. And Dante Moore sacked. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch there. 1-yard loss. 4th down and 3. Rainey Sale with the big sack lunch on Dante Moore. And we definitely have seen the defenses cash in for some sack lunches here this afternoon. But definitely looking forward to the afternoon, slate here in college football, as well as the matchups tomorrow in the NFL on Sunday. We'll be doing Broncos and Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Shotgun set on 4th down and 3. Wide open. Malik Benson, 1st down, Ducks. Wow. That's huge. 22-yard pass. Dillard Allen there with the coverage. But again, look at that hole in that zone. You have 6 defenders, all about 5 to 10 yards apart of that middle part of the field, and Dante Moore exploited that hole in that zone. And I don't know if I've seen a zone that open all season. That was huge. Shotgun set. De'Ara Hill Jr. runs to that right side for a 1-yard loss. Rylan Dillard Allen with the tackle. 2nd down and 11 at the Washington 17. Yeah, Paisley's doing good. We're definitely getting our walks in, and Thanksgiving was great. I finished the last of my leftovers yesterday, and just grinding out, college football and NFL. Less than 4 minutes to go here before halftime, and obviously if you're the Huskies, you're trying to hold the Ducks to nothing, a turnover, or maybe 3. Obviously you don't want to go down 17-0 to Oregon at this point. And, even if the Huskies lose to the Ducks, I still think that they have a very good football team. It just really what killed the momentum was that loss to Wisconsin. And again, normally you don't see college football teams lose 3 games in a row that are considered good, but the Huskies, unfortunately, the schedule makers didn't do them any favors playing the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, back-to-back weeks. That's not fair in my opinion, but again, what is? And then obviously losing to Wisconsin was maybe more of a carryover effect after losing back-to-back weeks. Should have beat Wisconsin last week. That was a little gut-wrenching even for me. Like, I was rooting for you guys to win that game so that way you guys would be 9-2 to bring a little bit more drama, to this matchup. But sometimes that's what happens in college football. Sometimes after you have a couple losses like that, you feel, the season's over. And then you think, we're still going to be able to beat the bad teams or the middle of the tier pack teams. And unfortunately, just not enough offense last week. Shotgun set. Dante Moore, incomplete to Kenyon Sadiq. Now it's going to be 4th down and 8 at the Washington 14. Now, are we going to go for it here? Like I said, I don't mind, going for, take the points that the defense is going to give you, respect them, take the field goal and go up 13-0, but with Atticus Sappington. But, knowing the Ducks, lately, it's not like we're going to play like Chip Kelly with Dan Lanning and Will Stein all the time, but every once in a while we will. And Sadiq, obviously, with a great attempt for the touchdown there. And I don't know if he got the wind knocked out of him. Yeah, looks like he landed on the football. Hopefully Kenyon Sadiq is okay there. Good effort. And again, there's a reason why he's the best tight end in the country. And there's going to be a team in the NFL that will be loving Kenyon Sadiq on Sundays. And again, that zone where you saw 6 Huskies all about 5 to 10 yards apart. After that, previous first down, you're not going to get that often. That was just kind of a miscue, there. And now they're looking at Sadiq there on the sideline. Hopefully he's okay. We can't, we already are playing with our top 2 receivers out, Gary Bryant Jr. and DeCorian Moore, our 5-star blue chipper, who both have been out for the last few weeks. And then we haven't had Evan Stewart the whole year. So it's like when you have to go with McClellan and some of these others, you don't really have a whole lot of confidence. You'd rather run the ball with our 3 stud running backs, or going to Sadiq, the best tight end in the country, but hopefully he's okay. Yeah, well, you got to think, Damon Williams hasn't been as sharp as he was earlier in the year. Jonah Coleman has been injured, and when they were winning games early in the season, how were they doing that? They were running the football, the defense would cheat up, and then eventually they would go to Denzel Boston and the rest of the receivers to open the games up. But now, if you're not really being as efficient, with Jonah Coleman, you still got Adam Muhammad, but every time you guys run a few big gains, you fade him. And then you go to the passing game. What they need to do is keep running with Adam Muhammad, just like they were with Jonah Coleman early in the year. And again, if you don't have a good offensive play caller, or they call, maybe the wrong play and the wrong down, then this is the type of shit that happens. I mean, we deal with that with Will Stein at Oregon. I know a lot of us Oregon fans don't like him. There's going to be times where he does a good job, but more times than not, he does the wrong play call. And he sometimes benefits based off the athleticism of our players bailing him out. But I would say, 70% of the time, we don't really like the calls that we're getting, and sometimes the athleticism will still end up getting a first down or getting in the end zone. But, the situational play calling is not the greatest, for Oregon. And again, if the play calling and the defense was better, maybe would have had a little bit of a better chance against Indiana in our only loss this year. But again, there's a reason why the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers are the 2 best teams in the country. A&M thought they were. They lost to Arch Manning in Texas. What does that say about them? I don't want to say they're frauds, A&M, but, most teams aren't going to lose to Texas at this point. And then obviously you got still Georgia and Oregon trying to be able to cement themselves as, top 5 teams, top 6 teams in the country. Tennessee up on Vandy, 21-14. And we're going to go for the field goal attempt. Field goal is up and good by Atticus Sappington. 32-yard field goal is good. 13-0 Oregon. And this was a good choice. Instead of getting greedy and trying to go for, the first down and the touchdown, just get 3. Take what the defense is going to give you. And great job by Atticus Sappington. 13-0 Oregon. right, we're at 68 likes, 32 to goal. Let's get there, baby. $25 on the dono train, 75 to goal. I mean, the Huskies have great players. Let's not get it twisted. You know, again, Damon Williams is like Kyler Murray. Jonah Coleman, when he's healthy, is arguably one of the best backs in the country, but he hasn't been healthy the last 3 weeks. Adam Muhammad has been a good backup. And then Denzel Boston's one of the best receivers in the country. But the thing that's really hurting the Huskies today is the O-line. And again, I said that whoever won the O-line, D-line battle, you know, is going to win the game. And again, you got to have time for Damon Williams to make his reads, even though he's, you know, very quick with his legs like Kyler Murray, you know, but again, you can't expect him to run for first downs the whole game. And again, if he doesn't have enough time, you know, to go through his reads and his progressions, then sometimes this is the type of result that you get. Shotgun set, Jonah Coleman rushing up the middle for a yard. 2nd down and 9 at the Washington 41. You know, play calling and obviously the offensive line and then obviously the defense. Those are the 3 things that you would expect a little bit more if you're a Husky fan, you know. But again, it all depends on who you're playing. You're not playing the Buckeyes or the Wolverines today. You're definitely not playing the Badgers in Wisconsin. You know, this is a tougher opponent. You know, we are a top 5 team, even though we're ranked 6th right now. But assuming since A&M lost, Oregon will move up at least a minimum of 1 spot with Georgia, and we'll see how far A&M drops down. You would assume it would be, you know, going from 3 to at least 6 at the very least, maybe even further down. We'll find out. Shotgun set, no huddle. Damon Williams, pass complete, short left to Raiden Vines Bright. There you go. Shotgun set. 9-yard gain up the middle there, out of bounds. 2nd down and 1. And now we have a timeout called by the Huskies. We're at the 2-minute warning. Captain says we're at 70 likes, 30 more to be able to hit the goal. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a normal Oregon fan. Like, I enjoy watching the Huskies play. I watch pretty much every game every year, you know. And again, the only time I'm not rooting for the Huskies is when they're playing Oregon. You know, again, a lot of Husky fans are Mariner fans, Hawk fans, and, you know, very intelligent. You know, again, and they're not a big market team. You know, they're small market. So again, for them to be able to build a squad like they did with Michael Penix Jr., you got to have the right coach. You have to have the right quarterback and the right, you know, personnel, you know, and right NFL players to be able to make a run. It's not like Washington's going to be a top 5 or top 10 team every year. But again, they're kind of like one of those teams that, you know, it takes 5 to 10 years to build it up. But once they build it, they're going to be like natty worthy. They may not win it all, but let's be real. You know, no one was really going to beat Michigan in that year. You know, they ran the ball, played great D, and it was just, you know, if the defense wasn't as good, you know, maybe Michael Penix Jr. would have been able to will that team to a natty. But again, just like Oregon, you know, we're able to get there, but we just haven't been able to get over the hump for the Huskies and Ducks for a natty, you know, but hopefully at some point, you know, that will change. And again, the Huskies just need to find a way to get on the board, you know, at this point, just kind of stop the bleeding. 13-0 Oregon, 2-minute warning, and we'll see where we go from here. $30 more likes to go to hit the goal. I like that, Captain. And we're at 25 on the dono train, 75 to go to hit that goal. Jan in the building from Arizona. How are you? Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. If you need a quick recap in the game, Atticus Sappington, 46-yard field goal was good. 3-0 Oregon. Dante Moore running for a 1-yard TD. 14 plays, 80-yard drive, 10-0 Oregon. And then Atticus Sappington, when we could have went for it on 4th down, but decided, hey, we need to be smart, take the points, you know, learn from those previous Washington losses when we lost, you know, to the Huskies, take the field goal. Sappington, 32-yard field goal is good. 12 plays, 62 yards, another long drive, and we're sitting at a 13-0 Duck lead. And again, just being an observer of the game, if they could have kept going with Adam Muhammad, they would have a minimum of 3, but as much as maybe 10 points at this point. You have to make sure you're going to your strong suit, and Jonah Coleman is a non-factor with his injury, but Adam Muhammad is healthy and willing. So get him the ball. And Denzel Boston doesn't even have a catch yet. And that's due partly to the play calling, but also the good defense by Oregon up to this point. But Boston will end up getting some catches before this one is over, and hopefully for the Husky fans, hits the end zone. Shotgun set, Jonah Coleman rushing towards that left side for a 3-yard gain. Mateo in there for the tackle for the Ducks. First down, Huskies. First down and 10 at the Oregon 38, and you're going to have to try to get points here before halftime if you're a Husky fan. 70 degrees, nice. Go Ducks. Shotgun set on the no huddle. Damon Williams goes to Desmond Roebuck, incomplete. And they were definitely testing the corners and safeties there, going on a deep pass, but incomplete. Second down and 10 at the Oregon 38. And the first time that Damon Williams Jr. tried to test Oregon and their DBs in the secondary, we got a big interception in the end zone. And that one was almost intercepted as well. Got tipped by 2 Duck players. And, we know the linebacking core, with Bryce Betcher is great. The D-line with Bear Alexander and Mateo is great. The secondary is a position group that can be exploited at times. But with that being said, the secondary has been able to make some big interceptions and big plays in the last month. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., pass complete short right to Omari Evans. And that's going to be a 4-yard gain, 3rd down and 6 at the Oregon 34. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., short middle to Desmond Roebuck. There you go. 11-yard pass. First down, Huskies. Move the chains. And this is finally the first good drive they've had in quite some time. So let's see if they can punch it in for a touchdown, or if the Oregon defense can hold them to a field goal, and that's what we're hoping for, or a turnover. But a good drive here, and we'll see if they continue to keep throwing the ball down the field. You have to assume, besides Roebuck, Boston, this is usually where he excels on one-on-one or even one-on-two coverage. And also Adam Muhammad, you can't forget about him. You got to make sure you get him a look. He's been getting 8 to 14-yard gains off the left side. Let's see what they end up deciding to do here. This would be a critical drive here for the Huskies if they want to, be close. False start on the offense. And Thieneman, that's shoulder to shoulder. There's no targeting there. I mean, it was a hard, clean hit, but again, if Washington did that to Oregon, I wouldn't be, complaining about, oh, that guy needs to, get kicked out, or that's targeting. That's just a clean football play. All right, declining the runoff off the illegal snap. Penalty is declined. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., pass complete short left to Jonah Coleman. Great to see him in the action. 9-yard pass, 2nd down and 6 at the Oregon 19. No huddle, shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. going to Desmond Roebuck again. They've gained some rapport and connection on this drive. Nice job, 9-yard pass. I like that. Shotgun set on the hurry up. Damon Williams Jr. pass complete to Desmond Roebuck. 16-yard pass. And they're getting closer now. Almost broke free, and a shoestring tackle there by Betcher and company. Shotgun set, no huddle. Jonah Coleman, and running up the middle and losing 4 there. Aaron Flowers with the great tackle. 2nd and goal at the Oregon 7. And again, the Huskies are getting so close they can taste it. And now finally the Huskies call timeout with 26 seconds left. And they need to be able to get their bearings here to make sure that, if they can get 6, you don't want to leave points on the board, especially when you're playing Oregon. We have 13 at this point. but it's not like 13 is all we're going to score. More than likely, we're going to get into the mid-20s, maybe even the 30s before this game is up. At least that's what we're going to be shooting for. Timeout is called. And a nice drive here for the Huskies up to this point. Let's see if they can conclude this drive with a touchdown. This drive so far, 10 plays, 72 yards, 252. And they are running out of time, 26 seconds left before halftime. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., he's running for his life. Get him! And a nice 4-yard gain there. Aaron Flowers with the coverage. 3rd down and goal at the Oregon 3, and another timeout. And how did they not get a sack there on Damon Williams Jr.? That was wild. I mean, he is such a quick player. So fun to watch, Damon Williams Jr. He's so athletic. He's so slippery. Most quarterbacks, that would have been a big sack lunch. Not Damon Williams Jr., baby. And if he just could have gotten one block from a receiver downfield, he could have gotten into the end zone. All he needed is one block by a receiver, and he would have been able to get in. But obviously that receiver was in the back of the end zone trying to get open for a touchdown. Yep. But he was already past the line of scrimmage by the time Boston got open. And he was running for his life and almost got sacked. So, with the game going so quickly at that point in front of his very eyes, I don't know if he would have been able to see him. 25 to a hundo. Let's get there. Big play. And this is the biggest drive for the Huskies up to this point. And there we go. Damon Williams Jr., Denzel Boston, touchdown, Huskies. There you go. That's exactly what we knew was coming at some point or another. And sometimes even when you know something is coming, that you still can't stop it. Great job by the Huskies there by Damon Williams Jr. and obviously Denzel Boston, trying to be like his dad, David Boston. Great job. Touchdown, Washington. There you go. Extra point is up and good. And even as a Duck fan, I don't want this game to be 13-0, 20-0, 26-0. I want a little back and forth. We want this to be a rivalry, right? So again, I would have preferred a field goal there. But again, you got to give credit to Damon Williams and obviously Denzel Boston finally, getting the eyes from his quarterback. And again, kind of a legal, kind of chip route there. I mean, you didn't really see the guys cross over into each other, where sometimes that ends up being a penalty. And again, when you run the crossing route correctly with no contact, obviously that's a perfect route for Denzel Boston, and that turns into 7 points for the Washington Huskies. Better late than ever. Great job for Washington. And again, these are the type of plays that I usually look forward to watching and rooting for, just not when they're playing the Ducks. 13-7 Oregon, and then I assume at some point we'll end up getting a kneel down, and we'll end up in the halftime with the same exact score. And obviously it's not ideal as Husky fans being down by 6 at this point, but considering you're 8-3, Oregon's 10-1, you're at home, you have the home field advantage, but you already knew coming into this game, this was going to be a hard one to win. But at least now that the game is in striking distance, and you feel a hell of a lot better, being at 13-7 rather than being at 13-0. And if Oregon was down at the same score, I know we would feel the same way. And kickoff there, 64 yards. Noah Whittington returning at 20. And now it's 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 21. And we can just pretty much hand the ball off once or kneel it, and we'll go into the tunnel here. And I want to see a little bit more of De'Aaron Hill. Again, I really like his style at running back. and Dante Moore with a kneel down, and that is going to be halftime. And I feel like that's one thing about Oregon's offense that, needs to be utilized a little bit more. And I get it. We got like 5 running backs. We're like 5 deep, and again, Jordan's great. Noah's great, but Dier needs to be able to get some looks with that physicality. Hopefully he will in the second half. Yeah, 1 catch, but the 1 catch is for a touchdown. Can't complain about that, right? Rather than him being at 0 with no yards. So better late than never. 13-7. Oregon's got a lead here in Seattle at halftime. And finally, it's starting to, feel like a football game. Just took the Huskies a little bit longer with that tough Oregon defense really making them earn it. And if Dan Lanning ends up winning this game, he'll tie Chip Kelly based off the win-loss record. So Chip Kelly was 46-7. Dan Lanning is 45-7. So if he ends up winning this game, it'll tie Chip Kelly. And then obviously if we go to the college football playoff and we end up getting a victory there, then he'll be, as far as win percentage, the best win percentage out of any coach. And, again, we have kind of felt like, Chip, was able to get us, to run when other teams were crawling and figuring out how to walk. But obviously Dan Lanning is the guy that can, get us a natty, get us to one and actually win one. We don't know if it's going to be this year, but as long as we have Dan for, the next 5 to 10 years or longer, we should be able to make a natty or 2 appearance. We may not win the first time that we go, with Dan, but hopefully we'll end up winning at least one. All right, I'm going to go check up on my pup since it's halftime. We'll have a few minutes going over the highlights and the stats, and then we'll get right back into the action here in just a couple minutes. Got a little bit of a snack for my pup. And now she's snuggled up. And we'll end up going on a walk after this matchup is over. Buckeyes 27, Wolverines 9, and that was going to be the only way that Oregon was going to play Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, is if Michigan were to beat the Buckeyes, and didn't happen. And again, we will be doing the Big Ten championship game between the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes. And as great as Ohio State is, Indiana this year, last year they couldn't beat them, but this year they definitely will have a chance with Mendoza at quarterback to pull off the upset. And again, pretty cool to be able to see number 1 versus number 2 in the Big Ten championship game. Now, obviously, I wish Oregon was one of those top 2 teams, but again, we'll still have a chance to play those 2 teams possibly in the college football playoffs. So, hopefully we'll be able to get a chance to get a little bit of payback and revenge. But kudos to the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. They have been fantastic this year, and there's a reason why they're the top 2 teams in the country. Wow, what a run. (21-21) Vandy and Tennessee at halftime. (13-7) here at halftime. Just waiting for the highlight packages to go over all the highlights to finish, and then we'll be right back into the action between the Ducks and the Huskies here in just a few minutes. I'm going to go grab my water here, get a little bit of a refill. I'll be right back. We're at halftime, 13-7 Oregon. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs, 13-7 Oregon. And we'll be back into the action, hopefully here in just the next few minutes. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. See if we gained any more subs since the last commercial break. Looks like we did, quite a few. Another 7 or 8. And now we only need 14 subs to get to 23,300. Getting very, very close to hitting that next goal there. So if you want to be one of those 14 to help us get to that next number, that would be fantastic. Getting closer. The NFL, usually the halftime is like 12 minutes. I think with college, it's slightly longer, or at least it feels like it's slightly longer, but hopefully this will be like one of the last commercial breaks that we'll have, and we'll get back into the action. Feels like halftime for college is like 15 to 20 minutes, and then obviously in the NFL, it's like 12, so. Great speed option there by Dante Moore. That's good. 6.1 yards per average, per carry for our running backs, 2.9 in this particular game. So, the Husky defense is coming to play. It's just Oregon's defense slowing down Washington's offense, and they're still in striking distance, obviously being 13-7. And we'll see which coach will end up making the most qualified adjustments between Lanning and Fish. And we'll see what we end up getting here in the second half, hopefully in the next couple minutes. We should be getting close to the second half starting here momentarily. I would assume only a few more commercials to go. 10-1, 7-1 in the Big Ten. Number 6 Oregon Ducks 13. Washington 8-3, 5-3 in the Big Ten with losses to the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, and the Badgers. 13-7 Oregon lead, but again, Washington gaining a little bit of momentum at the end of the first half, and we'll see if that will end up being a factor going into the third quarter here momentarily. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. We're at halftime here with a ridiculous amount of commercials, but again, we should be hopefully into the third quarter here sooner than later. Sunny Six Killer. What an OG. All right, I think that's the last commercial. But again, we'll find out. Halftime, number 6, Oregon Ducks 13, Washington 7. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And we've already gotten very close to hitting, 2 of the 3 goals, and we're almost there. We're halfway through the matchup, and hopefully we'll be able to get all 3 before this one is over. Go over some of the other scores here in college football as we're waiting for this Oregon and Washington game to continue. LSU and Oklahoma knotted up at 3 at halftime. Vanderbilt and Tennessee knotted up at 21 at halftime. Both of those games are close. Virginia Tech and Virginia on in about an hour and a half. Bama and Auburn in about 2 hours from now. UCLA and USC as well. Charlotte and Tulane, SMU and California, and then the late matchup will be Notre Dame and Stanford at 7:30 on ESPN. Final scores, Buckeyes 27, Wolverines 9. The Ohio State will punch their ticket to face the Indiana Hoosiers in the Big Ten Championship next week. Texas Tech winning 49-0 over West Virginia. Sorry, Pat McAfee. 41-21, BYU winning over UCF, and then Miami winning 38-7 over Pittsburgh. Huskies with the kickoff, and that's going to be a touchback. First down and 10 at the Oregon 25. We're back finally. And again, you can definitely feel like the halftime is a little extended for college compared to the NFL, but we're finally back. 13-7 Oregon lead, and hopefully we'll be able to strike early and often. And we'll see what we have here. Shotgun set. Noah Whittington rushing up the middle for a 2-yard gain. 2nd down and 8 at the Oregon 27. No huddle, shotgun set. Whittington rushing up the middle, but losing 2. 3rd down and 10 at the Oregon 25. Go Ducks. Third down and 10 at the Oregon 25 after that 2-yard loss by Whittington. Let's go. Go Ducks. Captain says we're at 84. We're almost there. We should be able to get that 16 more likes sooner than later. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore going deep towards that right sideline. Jamari Johnson, and it is caught. 1st down, Oregon. Move the chains. Jamari Johnson, welcome to Oregon. Let's go. Beautiful. 1st down and 10 at the Washington 44. And Jamari is down. Hopefully he's okay. And Jamari got popped towards that sideline. I hope he's okay. Yeah, beautiful throw there by Dante Moore, right on the money, right in the breadbasket, and then obviously getting landed on late here on the hip growing area. I don't know if that's where the but hopefully Jamari can walk it off. We already saw Kenyon Sadiq in the first half kind of get the wind knocked out of him where he landed on the football. Shotgun set, Dante Moore, short left to De'Aaron Hill Jr., and that was the individual I wanted to see with a few more opportunities in the passing game and the running game. 9-yard pass there, 2nd down and 1 at the Washington 35. Let's go Ducks. Keep moving the football, and let's keep gaining a little bit of momentum here for Dante Moore. 11 for 17, 142 yards. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore, pass complete, short left to Jeremiah McClellan. And as often as we can avoid McClellan, I think that's kind of the goal. But, when you don't have Evan Stewart, you don't have DeCorian Moore, you don't have Gary Bryant Jr., then sometimes you have to go to what's available. And Benson is obviously more reliable than McClellan, but hopefully Jeremiah will be able to do something positive before this game is over. 1st down and 10 at the Washington 33. 1st down, Ducks. Move the chains. Shotgun set. No huddle. Dante Moore going to De'Aaron Hill Jr. again with blockers in front. And a nice 6-yard pass after 4 Huskies collapse on him. Good D there by Washington. 2nd down and 4 at the Washington 27, but looks like they have a Husky down. And McLaughlin just got ran over by Hill, and he's injured now. Hopefully he's okay. When you go one-on-one with any player on the Ducks, especially Hill, that's the one that might hurt you, based off his physicality. And hopefully he's okay as McLaughlin goes to the sideline, tries to shake it off. But Hill obviously is getting the ball here in the third quarter, which is nice to see. That was really the one player that I thought they could have gotten the ball a little bit more. And again, when you have Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison, it's hard, to be able to get everyone enough looks and touches. But, that's a problem that we are happy to have with 3 stud running backs. Shotgun set, no huddle. Jordan Davison up the middle, 4-yard gain. First down, Oregon. Move the chains. And let's see if we can get into the end zone here. Good play calling by Will Stein, which is something I normally don't say that often. First down and 10 at the Washington 23. And we're definitely getting closer into Sadiq touchdown territory here, or one of the obviously 3 stud running backs as well. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore decides to keep it, rushes for about 3 yards there. Second down and 7 at the Washington 20. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And obviously, the battle up front, the battle in the trenches will determine the outcome and the winner in this one. And so far, Oregon's O-line and D-line have been winning the battle, but Washington's defense has been pretty good. Normally Oregon isn't held to 13.5, so you got to give them credit as well. Shotgun set, De'Ara Hill runs for 11 yards, but we're going to get a holding call on Oregon. Is that on Iapani? I think it's on Iapani. 10-yard penalty after that good run by Hill. And obviously we saw Adam Muhammad do the same thing for Washington, run to the left side, kind of the strong side there. But after a great run by Hill, that one gets taken away. That's unfortunate. Second down and 17 at the Washington 30. And the last thing that the Ducks or the Husky needs at this point is self-inflicted wounds like holding calls. And that one's going to hurt. Second down and 17 at the Washington 30, 13-7 Oregon lead with less than 10 minutes to go here in the third quarter. 16 more likes to be able to get to the goal to hit 100, and we're at 25 on the dono train, 75 to go. Shotgun set, pass incomplete to Kenyon Sadiq. Third down and 17 at the Washington 30. Come on, Ducks. And normally that's a catch that Sadiq makes. There's no doubt about that. And Sadiq is being held, before the ball came, but no call there. No huddle, shotgun set, Dante Moore, short middle to Jordan Davison, 11-yard pass, 4th down and 6 at the Washington 19. And at this point, bring out Atticus Sappington and kick the field goal. There is quite a few games in the last few years where we would go for it instead of taking the points. And that's why Washington has beat Oregon 3 out of the last 4 times. And obviously, when you play Michael Penix Jr., in that particular squad that went to the Natty against Michigan, you have to make sure that you don't leave any points on the board. And Oregon has finally learned that lesson. Field goal is up and good. Nice job by Atticus Sappington. And again, we want touchdowns, not field goals. But again, it's better to get a field goal than to get nothing. And 16-7, Oregon will take that. Nice job by Atticus Sappington, who has single-handedly won us a game, versus Iowa. And again, this might be the Atticus Sappington game again, doing a great job for us with 3 field goals already and only 1 touchdown for Oregon early on. Captain says we're at 90, 10 more likes to go. Let's get it, baby. Only 14 likes or 14 subs away from hitting 23,300. See if we gained any since the last commercial break. Looks like we gained another 1 or 2. 2 subs from the last commercial break. So now we're only 12 away. Help us get to 23,300 in the sub count. Only 12 subs away to get there. Let's get it. Looking forward to seeing what Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston, and Adam Muhammad will do here on this drive. Huskies down by 9, but they're clearly nowhere near, being blown out. Again, obviously you want to respond after that field goal by Sappington with a field goal of your own, or preferably a touchdown, making it 16-10 or 16-14. But we'll see if the Duck defense can step up and get a turnover or a 3-and-out, or if the Huskies will get points on the board. Buddha says 11 away. Appreciate you. And we gained a couple more even after you, Buddha. Appreciate you. Now we only need 9 to go. And with the amount of people that we have in the room, 125 and counting, we should probably be able to get 9 before the stream ends, I would assume. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And we've gained a good amount, and if we keep at this pace, we'll probably have 30 to 40 subs before this one is completely over. So I appreciate that very, very much. And, if you're new to the channel and not familiar, we do a little bit of everything here. We do Mariners during baseball season, and then obviously a lot of NFL, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night games. Once in a while, the Buccaneers, if they're on in prime time, and then obviously Oregon Duck games. And then we'll also do some of the, good matchups, throughout the year. And since Oregon isn't in the Big Ten championship, obviously next weekend will be the Big Ten championship between the Ohio State Buckeyes, number 1 in the country, versus number 2, the Indiana Hoosiers. And we'll get 1 versus 2 in the Big Ten championship. And I'll be definitely looking forward to calling that game here on YouTube next weekend. Gained another sub. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. 8 subs away from 23,300. We can do it. Hurch there with the kickoff, 62 yards, fair caught by Adam Muhammad. And first down and 10 at the Washington 25. 16-7 Oregon lead, but Washington still in this matchup. It's not over yet. And if you're the Huskies, you got to give Adam Muhammad, look, Jonah Coleman is still hurt. And obviously we know he's a beast when he's healthy, but again, I want more De'Aaron Hill Jr. for the Ducks at running back, even though he's probably 3rd string, but he's a fabulous freshman. We got the 2 best freshmen at running back in the country with him and Jordan. Get him the ball. And then obviously if you're the Huskies, you want to go with what was working in the first half, and Muhammad was great for them. And hopefully they'll be able to give him some touches as well. Shotgun set, Damon Williams rushing towards that right side for a 1-yard gain. 2nd down and 9 at the Washington 26. Thieneman there, the transfer from Purdue, with the tackle for the Oregon Ducks. Came up with that clutch interception against Penn State when they were still relevant at Penn State. Damon Williams Jr., pass complete. Adam Muhammad, what do you know? You ask and you shall receive. 10-yard pass. First down, Huskies. Move the chains. Appreciate it. And again, we've been blanketing Denzel Boston, but he still ended up getting them their only touchdown in the first half. But again, you're going to have to be able to find other options. You can't be looking at Boston every play. But it's showing you that Adam Muhammad can actually, catch passes out of the backfield, and he can get you big runs onto the outside. And just like I mentioned, Adam Muhammad is their, one of the best options at this point. What do? They start going heavy. Adam Muhammad rushes towards that right side, 19-yard gain, first down, Huskies. And honestly, if the Huskies are going to come back and win this game, it would be because of Adam Muhammad. That would be one of the main reasons, if they continue to give him the ball instead of fading him like they did in the first half. If a guy's doing well, you don't go away from him. You continue to give him the rock. And as much as you love Jonah Coleman, he's just injured. He's just not the same back. So nice job by the Huskies on implementing someone that they should have never faded in the first half, Adam Muhammad. Great job. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., pass complete, short right to Decker DeGraff. And that's going to be a 2-yard pass. 2nd down and 8 at the Oregon 43. Especially when your, running back can get, 8, 10, 12, 14, 19 yard, chunk plays. You don't fade a guy like that. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr., pass incomplete. Short left from the field there. A nice hurry by Oregon. 3rd down and 8 at the Oregon 43. .640 and counting. 3rd down and 8 at the Oregon 43. 16-7 Oregon lead. Betcher with the hurry and the coverage. Key 3rd down here for the Huskies. Shotgun set, Damon Williams. Short middle. Going to Audric Harris, incomplete. And now it's going to be 4th down and 8 at the Oregon 43. It's like Muhammad, big chunk play. Muhammad, big chunk play. You go away from Muhammad, you don't get anything. So again, we know Boston is a great receiver, but it's the self-awareness as an offensive coordinator or head coach to realize, what's working. And a nice batted down pass there by the Ducks. Tuioti with the coverage, and I love that. And you would assume that the Huskies will punt, which they will. And Luke Dunn comes out. 37-yard punt, 1st and goal at the Oregon 6. I mean, hell, I should be a fucking coordinator or a coach, for as much football, that we watch on this channel, which is usually 3 or 4 full matchups in college and 3 or 4 or 5 full games on the NFL. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what's working and what's not. But with that being said, it just seems like as soon as something starts working, they fade it. And again, we saw big plays by Muhammad early. And then what did they bring in? An injured Jonah Coleman, gaining a run up the middle for a yard. That's not going to work. Or Muhammad with a 14-yard gain, Muhammad with a 19-yard gain, and then the next 3 plays, you don't even go to him anymore. Like, make it make sense. The only way you're going to come back and win this game is with, obviously, Damon Williams Jr. and his legs, eventually getting another touchdown, to Denzel Boston. But Muhammad would have to get in the end zone probably once or twice. And if you continue to give him the football, maybe that could happen. But if you're only going to give it to him here and there and then fade him like they did in the first half, they're never going to be able to score enough points to keep up with Oregon unless, Oregon ends up having some fumbles or interceptions, or something of that nature to kind of get them back in the game. Disappointing drive there for the Huskies when especially, you could have, ran a screen pass to Muhammad. And it's not like Muhammad only gets, positive plays at, running the football. You've already seen him get screen passes and, being able to get, 10 to 19 yards that way as well. Self-awareness is a big thing in college football. And sometimes, coaches and coordinators get a little too cute, thinking that, I'm going to trick them. I'll save this for later. But, newsflash, I mean, there's not a whole lot of time left and you're already down, and again, if you, start to save certain plays for later, sometimes later, there is no later. Time has run out, and it's a little too late at that point. We're on a commercial break, and we'll see what Oregon can do with one of their drives here in the 3rd quarter. Pacific Northwest, it's a beautiful place. If you've never visited Oregon or Washington, I highly recommend. Husky, looking fresh. Dubs too. 7-year-old Alaskan Malamute. Frosty won in 1922. Malamute, beautiful dog. Frosty won from 1922 to 1930. Love me some dogs. Shotgun set. Dante Moore going deep. Jeremiah McClellan is there and caught. First down, Oregon. And with Oregon being backed up, on their own 5-yard line, says easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let me go deep. And McClellan, who's probably our worst wide receiver on the team as far as like the backups that are kind of, forced to start now. Great job there by McClellan. Great route, great hands, and he broke that DB off on that route on the stop and go. Beautiful. Shotgun set, no huddle. Dante Moore, short right to Malik Benson, which we have a little bit more trust in. 5-yard pass. Second down and 5 at the Washington 48. And again, if Oregon scores a touchdown here, it's not fully over, but it definitely is going to start feeling like that for the Husky fans. Got to step up with a big defensive stop at some point. No huddle, shotgun set. Noah Whittington rushing to that left side. And a loss of 2. Rylan Dillard Allen with a great tackle, the safety. 3rd down and 7 at the 50-yard line. Less than 5 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Oregon in control, but it's not over yet. And a great shoestring tackle there on Whittington. Shotgun set, no huddle. Dante Moore, incomplete, short right. 4th down and 7 at the 50. Now, what does Oregon do? Do we punt? Or do we gamble and try to go for it? I mean, we definitely have been able to gain a little bit of momentum, and you're kind of in that, in between area. If you punt it, it might end up being a touchback. So, and I usually don't like the team going for it on 4th down, but if you're on the 50, you can sometimes roll the dice. I don't really like 4th and 7, though. If it was 4th and 3, it would make me feel a little bit better, but. And it looks like the penalty is coming out. Prysock is going to get hit with the PI. And that's going to be an automatic first down for Oregon. Yeah, I don't like that penalty at all. Not one bit. Shotgun set. Davison rushing towards that right side for a 1-yard gain. 2nd down and 9 at the Washington 35. Yeah, that should have been offensive pass interference, not defense. When plays end up being in your favor, that's fine. But I hate it when people act like, oh, that's what we deserve. We deserve that, to be able to keep the drive going. And obviously, if you have eyes, that was clearly a bad call. That should have not been defensive pass interference. It should have been offensive pass interference. Clear as day. And we're already up 16-7, so it's not like we need any extra help, to try to win this game. We can win it fair and square, but a horrible call by that ref. And hopefully there'll be a makeup call to make up for it. False start there by Pregame. 5-yard penalty. Come on, Emmanuel. 2nd down and 14 at the Washington 40. I mean, nothing is worse when you end up watching someone, on YouTube or Twitch, and they're just so incredibly biased that they can't even give credit, where credit needs to be given. And, just because you end up getting a penalty that, benefits your team doesn't mean it was the right call. That was probably one of the worst penalties I've seen all year. And again, we've had plenty of penalties, not go in our favor also. But with what's on the line in this game, and the timing of that penalty, that was terrible. No huddle, shotgun set. Dante Moore, short right to Malik Benson. That's caught. 3rd down and 8 after that 6-yard gain at the Washington 34. I mean, again, not everyone is going to be like me, and that's fine. Again, there's going to be people that are going to scream and yell, and there's going to be people that are going to be popular, and they're going to have, more subs and more people in the room and, this and that. But, you have to stay true to who you are, and, I definitely will never change. 3rd down and 8 here at the Husky 34. Oregon hanging on to a 9-point lead. The Huskies need a pick, a fumble, some kind of big stop to gain the momentum, but again, the only thing that might be able to help them is a bad call by Will Stein or an incomplete pass by Dante Moore. Dante Moore, shotgun set, and pass complete to Kenyon Sadiq, unfortunately for no gain. And good defense there by the Huskies. 4th down and 8 at the Washington 34. And again, you're also in kind of no man's land here, because if you go for a field goal, 49, 50 yards. That's kind of borderline on Atticus Sappington's range, and again, we'll see what they decide to do here. Sappington, long attempt, kick is up, and it is good. And wow, shocking. And again, Atticus Sappington looks like he's going to be the MVP of this game, just like he was for the Iowa matchup, where pretty much he was majority the only one scoring for Oregon, and 51 yards. And again, let's be real. It's not easy to hit a field goal from 40 and beyond, 50 and beyond. Hell, even NFL players have a hard time hitting even chippies nowadays. Atticus Sappington, my God. Great job. 4 field goals by Atticus Sappington, doing exactly what he did against Iowa for us to be able to scrape out a win on the road. And it looks like the same type of Atticus is coming through. And that barely cleared the field goal post. Great job by Sappington. Wow. 19-7 Oregon. But let's be honest and let's be real. The field goal should have never fucking happened. After the penalty. Realistically, we probably would have got to a point where we would have punted, or we would have went for it on 4th down and turned the ball over. And then, that bad call, with the PI on the defense when you clearly saw, and those are the type of penalties. I don't want the game to get slowed down one bit, but those are the type of penalties that need to be reviewed, or like you take a couple minutes, you might, stop a little bit of the flow of Oregon, but, if that's the correct call, that's all we want as fans. We just want the correct call, regardless if it's going to go for the Huskies or go for the Ducks. And, at least it wasn't a touchdown, I guess, for Husky fans. But 19-7 Oregon lead. And we'll see if the Huskies can respond with a field goal of their own, or preferably a touchdown to Adam Muhammad or Denzel Boston. Yeah, but also, too, Captain, it's not like the Huskies haven't been good for 20 years. It's like you guys just went to a natty, and you have to realize, like, the Huskies normally are never in the conversation of even winning a division, let alone making it that far. So you have to be blessed with what you had at that particular time. And, anytime you're a small market team, sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years to build it up. And then once usually, Pacific Northwest teams are good, they're natty good. Regardless if it's the Seahawks or the Ducks or the Huskies or something of that nature, it might take a while, to get them to be really, really good. But once our teams are good, we're like championship good. Now, we might not win it all, but we'll definitely get to the game, and hopefully at some point, the Pacific Northwest will be able to, crown themselves champion at some point or another. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Kickoff 60 yards. Adam Muhammad, fair caught at the 25. And we're getting very close to our number. Gained 3 more subs since the last commercial break. We only need 5 subs to go to 23,300. We got 150 people in the room. I know there's got to be at least a couple people in the room, 5 out of the 150 that can get us to that number. Let's get it, baby. And Brooks is an up-and-coming producer here in the Pacific Northwest. And again, we'll continue to be able to, use his music on the channel for a very, very long time. Appreciate you. All right, let's see what the Huskies can do. Besides Oregon, Washington is really the only team that I watch game in and game out from beginning to end. And I've watched pretty much of all the Husky games this season. Just a little bad luck within the last 3 weeks. But let's see if they can get their luck turned around here on this drive. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. rushing towards that right side, and this is something that he's going to have to do in the second half. You're going to have to run for some first downs. You definitely have the speed, and you might even have to have a few design runs for him to try to run for 10 to 30 yards to kind of change the momentum up, unless you're going to go to Adam Muhammad. Shotgun set, Jonah Coleman rushing up the middle for a 5-yard gain. Betcher with the tackle with Bear Alexander. Nice first down there by the Huskies. Quick huddle here. Shotgun set. Damon Williams Jr. And it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch. Loss of 2. Thieneman, the Purdue transfer with the sack lunch. We love that. Second down and 12 at the Washington 36. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. passing complete short right. Third down and 12 at the Washington 36. And exactly what I was talking about earlier. Adam Muhammad, big play. Adam Muhammad, big play. And then all of a sudden, they just stop going to him. Why? That's your best option. Denzel Boston's got the touchdown, but he only had, that catch for the touchdown when they were in the red zone. You have to look at who's doing well between the 20 and the 20s. And the best option, is going to be Adam Muhammad at running back, fade Jonah Coleman. He's injured. And then using Denzel Boston and obviously Damon Williams Jr.'s legs. Wake up, Washington. Good defense there by Oregon. Great coverage. And Raiden Vines Bright with the intended receiver on that deep throw. But look at the coverage by the DB for Oregon. Beautiful coverage. And again, he tries to lead the receiver in the sweet spot, and it was perfectly placed, but just tipped away. It hit him right in the chest. And again, we have seen a few catchable balls just missed by both teams. Third down and 12 at the Washington 36. Oregon's defense making them earn it on every single down. Damon Williams Jr., shotgun set, deep right, and complete. Fourth down and 12 at the Washington 36. But again, this Oregon defense is better than last year. If we had last year's defense, you're probably moving the ball for more first downs and more points. But really, it's the strong suit. Dante Moore, Noah Whittington, and Jordan, and Dier, and DeCorian Moore, and Gary Bryant Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq. Those are the guys that usually get the love and the pub for this team, as well as Dan Lanning. But true ones, real ones that have been watching the season, realize the main reason that we've been able to do as well as we have, a big reason of that is the defense. Having those athletic big bodies on the D-line, getting Bear Alexander, the transfer from USC, and then having guys like Bryce Betcher impose his will, as well as Thieneman on the back end. So every level of the defense has got a stud or two. And we get a false start here by Devin Bryant. Fourth down and 17 at the Washington 31. And again, I love Jonah Coleman. Don't get me wrong. I mean, again, when he's healthy, he's arguably one of the best backs, if not the best back in the country. And he's been good for years, right? He's been awesome for Washington. But if he's been hurt, for the last 3 games, and he can't really, give you the lift, in his running, and then you got a guy that's doing really well in Adam Muhammad, make it make sense. I get it. You want to make sure that you feel like everyone is involved. But again, you're down 19-7, not up 19-7. You don't have the luxury, to be able to go to the weaker back who's injured at the moment. And Dunn punts 52 yards. Malik Benson getting tackled immediately. Prysock and company. First down and 10 at the Oregon 17. All right, last commercial break. We were only 5 subs away from 23,300. Let's see if we gained any since then. Looks like we've gained 1. We're 4 away. I know we can hit this goal before the stream is up. 4 subs away from 23,300. We got 134 in the room. Where are we at on the likes? How close are we to 100? We got to be getting close there. And then we're at 25 on the dono train, 75 to go to hit that goal. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to, oh, there we go. We got it. Hell yeah. Let's see if we can get to 150 before the game is over. A little aggressive, but it's always good to be a little aggressive on your goals. And then if you fall slightly short, you're still at a really good number. So, Captain, appreciate you. You and TJ have helped tremendously. Thank you for that. And now we're at 100. Let's see if we can get to 150. Now, if we had 200 to 300 people in the room, I would say 200. But let's just try to go for 150 and see where we fall from there. So we hit 100. We're almost at the subscriber goal. 4 more subs to be able to hit that. And then we're at 25, 75 to go on the dono goal. And we're always going to have 3 goals on every stream no matter what. And it looks like we gained another sub. Thank you so much. And this stream has already gained 20 to 30. So we're going in the right direction. And if we keep going at this rate, we'll probably have 40 or 50 subs before this game is over, which would be awesome. 3 over easy, 105. I like it. Thank you so much. 3 subs away from 23,300. Okay, looks like we gained a couple more. Thank you so much. Now we're only 1 away. Who's going to be the person that's going to get us to that number? 1 sub away from 23,300. And there we go. We got it. Thank you so much. Now we're on to our next goal, 100 subs away from 23,400. Shout out to all of the 30, 40 subs that we've acquired here today. Appreciate you. First down and 10. And a run bouncing to the outside there for a decent gain. We got a flag on the play. And Harkey with the penalty here. Personal foul. 9-yard run there by De'Aaron Hill Jr. And every time the running back that I want to be able to continue to play well, right? There's always some silly penalty. And obviously, Prysock and Harkey have been going at it. And again, that's what you call finishing a block by Harkey. But again, you can't be 15 yards out of bounds in the sideline and then you run over one of the workers that's got like the sound bubble, and you knock him over or her over as well. At some point when you lock up, you got to let go. And Harkey got a little too ahead of himself there. No huddle, shotgun set. De'Aaron Hill trying to get back some of that yardage that Harkey ended up with the penalty. And that's going to be the end of the third quarter. 3rd down and 14 at the Oregon 21. Yeah, Bears look great. And again, I had a feeling that they were going to win that game. Philly's offense hasn't played very well this year. Their defense and their special teams were lights out early, but they've been kind of fading lately and they've been kind of going in the wrong direction. The Chiefs and the Eagles are definitely kind of getting exposed. And again, the Bears haters were saying, well, they had the easiest schedule up to that point, which was true. They didn't really beat anybody that was really good, besides this first against the Eagles, but the rest of the schedule, the rest of the way is really tough, one of the hardest. So we'll definitely find out if they're pretenders or contenders. But after watching that Black Friday game, I'm a believer in Ben Johnson and the Bears. And again, there's nothing worse when you have 2 running backs, go off and you can't stop it. And, you end up losing that way. And, again, you can definitely tell the Lions are not the same team without Ben Johnson calling plays, and the Bears have taken the step that they've been probably waiting for the last 50 years, where you actually got someone at head coach that can call plays to be able to take them to a place they haven't been to in a while, the playoffs. And I am a believer. They looked very, very good. And again, are they going to play like that every game the rest of the way? No, but again, with 3 teams battling it out for probably 2 spots, you have to think the Bears are playing well. The Lions are kind of up and down. Same thing with Green Bay. But we'll find out, if there is a team that could miss it, maybe the Bears will leapfrog Detroit and take that spot. But it is possible to get 3 teams, in the playoffs from a conference. But I was very impressed, on what they did. Because, again, you can throw the ball, all day long. It's a passing league. But how many teams, kind of go back to the philosophy of the 80s and 90s where you pound the rock, and then you pass when you need to. And it's not like Caleb can't throw. But, again, another thing that I was really impressed, besides the O-line and the running backs for the Bears and Ben Johnson's play calling, is the defense. The Bears defense looked like the Bears defense when they had Urlacher. And again, it's been a minute, and again, every once in a while, if you follow the Bears D, sometimes in fantasy, there'll be a top 5 or a top 10 D in years past. And it finally felt like they, put a full game together, and very excited to see what they end up doing the rest of the year. And again, I was really hoping that they would win that game to kind of prove the naysayers. And again, it shows you, if you have a good coach and a good play caller, and you got good O-line, D-line, defense, and coaching and play calling, even a team that is doubted like the Bears can come into Philadelphia, give them a haymaker or 2. And again, once they, obviously struck, into the end zone early, they were able to do it pretty often after that as well. End of the third quarter, 19-7 Oregon. Yeah, but for me as a fan, I'm a little bit different than the average YouTuber that watches sports or calls games. I'm a defensive-minded fan, so I'm always looking at, defensive lining up, linebackers and safeties. I like looking at the O-line and the D-line. Most people, when they watch football, you're watching the center hike the ball to the quarterback, and then you're watching the skill position players and you're following the football. I'm the opposite. I'm not necessarily watching that. I'm watching what's going on the O-line and the defense, still keeping my eye on the football and where things are going. But again, I like being able to root for the things that people take for granted: O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling, and special teams. And again, I think that, seeing the game that way obviously gives you a different perspective on football. And we're definitely not going to be biased here. We're going to make sure that we celebrate greatness wherever it's at. The teams that I root for and the teams that are going against our teams. Throw to the sideline and complete. Jeremiah McClellan. And that was close to being a catch. Let's look at the replay here. One-handed. McClellan. Off the helmet. Wow. I mean, the ball does hit the ground, but he pins it against his helmet. Holy cow. Jeremiah McClellan. I mean, he's bobbling it with one hand, and then the ball does hit the ground, but he pinned it against his helmet. Wow. Elbow is down and never loses control of the football. The grip on the hand on the football was still there. Wow. I mean, I assume this will be incomplete, but if for whatever reason, if that's a catch, holy cow. I don't know if I've seen fingers that strong, on a football on a catch that was one-handed, but great effort there. All right, timeout is called. Man, and again, normally when the football, hits the ground, whether it's the tip of the football or the side of the football, I don't give a shit. Incomplete, right? That's what we all say, incomplete. But in this particular play, where he's gripping it with just one hand, balances it against the helmet, elbow hits, right? The ball hits the ground, but it never moves. And I don't know if I've ever seen that before with a one-handed catch. You see that with two-handed catches, but I've never seen that with a one-handed grab. That's crazy. $39-150. Let's get there, baby. Great effort there by Jeremiah McClellan, who might be the worst receiver on the team, believe it or not. Gained a few more subs since the last commercial break. Thank you so much. We're pacing for 50 subs this stream. 98 subs to 23,400. We just hit 23,300 momentarily just a few moments ago. And we'll see what this call is. And honestly, I'm not going to be mad either way. But normally when the ball hits the ground, I don't, no matter what, it's incomplete. But this is going to be one of the closer calls that we've seen maybe ever. Because again, normally when the ball hits the ground, right, what happens with the fingers and the ball? It moves slightly, but you never see the football move. Like, I don't know if I've seen grip control out of the fingers like that ever. And for the guy that might be the worst receiver on the team, making arguably one of the best catches, ever for Oregon. Wow. Oh, they did it incomplete. And that doesn't surprise me because, again, most of the time with these referees, if it hits the ground, it's incomplete. But, the grip control with the fingers and, pinning it against the helmet. Now, if it would have never hit the grass, then it would have been a catch, right? If he was able to keep a little bit of a layer in between the ball and actually hitting the ground, it would have been one of the best catches of college football in 2025. But the simple fact that it hit the ground, or maybe the disbelief that his fingers and the ball didn't move after the momentum hitting the ground, but I'm okay with that call. But I like the effort by McClellan. That was crazy. And Ferguson Reynolds with the punt, 48 yards. But again, in the rule book, typically if it hits the football hits the ground, usually that's going to be incomplete. But you could have called that either way. The only thing that would have made it like definitively, yes, that's a catch, if it just never would have bounced off the turf. But, when you're falling down, that's hard to prevent, right? And then Muhammad rushing towards that left side, 9-yard gain. Muhammad is gaining 9 to 20 yards on every possession, and they just only give him the ball a couple times, and then they just forget about him, And now you're starting to run out of time. You're in the fourth quarter, right? You're down 12. Nice game there by Adam Muhammad. He's been the star here today. And again, Damon Williams needs to run the football a little bit more. And again, eventually, Denzel Boston will have an opportunity, but this is just not a game where you're going to give him, 13 targets, not against Oregon secondary. Muhammad running towards that right side, 4-yard gain. First down, Huskies. Bryce Betcher, my favorite Duck, with the stop. First down and 10 at the Washington 44. And again, if I'm the Huskies and I'm calling the plays, Muhammad. It's not that hard to see. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. He decides to run it himself. There we go. 18-yard gain. Betcher with the tackle. First down, Huskies. I can call pretty much almost any game that I watch. I'm so familiar with the teams that I call, that, I can almost kind of turn into the offensive coordinator, and not even for the Ducks, but for the opposing teams. What's going to work? Muhammad, right, with running and catching. Damon Williams with his legs, which we just mentioned a few minutes ago, and now they're doing it. And then eventually Denzel Boston, but that's like third option at this point. You got to keep, using Damon Williams Jr.'s legs, as well as Adam Muhammad in the passing game and in the running game. And then once you keep doing that, eventually there'll be one-on-one or even one-on-two for Boston, and then he'll have a chance for his second touchdown of the game. Shotgun set. Adam Muhammad rushing up the middle, 4-yard gain. 2nd down and 6 at the Oregon 34. And if the Huskies are serious of coming back, you probably don't want Jonah Coleman to get a look the rest of the game. As great as he is, the only reason you would want Jonah Coleman running the football in the 4th quarter is if Muhammad gets injured. Because again, one guy is injured and the other guy is completely healthy and playing a little bit better. Shotgun set. Muhammad rushing towards that left side, 4-yard gain. 3rd down and 2 at the Oregon 30. Yeah, the best almost catch that I've seen in a long, long time. I agree. 3rd down and 2 at the Oregon 30. And honestly, if they didn't lose to Washington last week, maybe there would be a little bit more fire in the bellies of the Huskies. I mean, this is their 3rd straight loss coming into this game. Losing to the Buckeyes, no problem. Losing to the Wolverines, that stung. But losing to Wisconsin, a game that you should have no reason of losing, that's the one that really hurt more than anything. Shotgun set. Adam Muhammad rushing towards that left side for 4 yards. 1st down, Huskies. 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 26. Betcher and Flowers in coverage there. Damon Williams, pass incomplete, short right to Decker DeGraff. 2nd down and 10 at the Oregon 26. Yeah, I mean, both offenses stunk that game, but again, regardless if you're at home or on the road, a middle tier team like that's definitely, a winnable game. Now, if you're going against like Iowa, then that might be a different story based on, how they were playing, but the Huskies should have been 9-2, going into this matchup, in my opinion. Because that would have given them a little bit more excitement, after a win coming into this game to try to play spoiler. And the scoreboard and the results still might be the same, but you would just think that if they didn't lose 3 games in a row, only 2 in a row, and then beat Wisconsin, maybe there's a little bit more edge to the Husky players today. Even though that the rivalry is still intact and, it's not like they're not trying. Shotgun set. Muhammad rushing to the right side. They're pretty much just going right side, left side with Muhammad. And that's a 4-yard run there. 3rd down and 6 at the Oregon 22. And again, at some point, the Huskies need to think about kicking a field goal, depending on what happens on this next play. You still got 10 minutes to go. 19-10 is better than 19-7. Facts. Shotgun set. Damon Williams Jr. pass complete. There he is. Denzel Boston, son of David Boston. 1st down, Huskies. 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 15. Yeah, last regular season weekend. Next week, we'll do the Big Ten Championship on Saturday. Ohio State versus Indiana. And then the next Oregon game I call will be in the college football playoff. And hopefully we'll be able to match up to whoever it is. No huddle, shotgun set. Damon Williams Jr. pass, incomplete, short left. And hurried there by the Ducks. Tuiototi with the coverage. 2nd down and 10 at the Oregon 15. .35 left in the 4th quarter. 19-7 Oregon lead. Shotgun set. Jonah Coleman rushing for 2 yards. And again, this is the issue. Jonah Coleman's gaining 1 to 2 yards pretty much every time that he's getting a chance, because they want him to be involved in the game. And obviously he played great early in the year, but he's been hurt for the last 3 games. You're hurting your team's chances of getting into the end zone by giving Coleman the ball. I know there's a thing as like loyalty and giving your guys the rock, but obviously you're not going to get the same kind of results as if that was Muhammad, who would have gained 4 to 20 yards, in that same type of play. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. pass incomplete to Desmond Roebuck, and now it's 4th down and 8 at the Oregon 13. Take the field goal if you're the Huskies. Don't go for it. I mean, there's a chance they could score with Denzel Boston, sure, but if you don't score, the game might be over. So we'll see what they decide to do, but a smart college football coach, would kick the field goal here. It's not like there's only 3 minutes left in the game. You still got time. Appreciate that, Anthony. I've been calling games for quite some time now. This will be my, 13th year, 9th year on YouTube. Next year will be my 14th year and my 10th year. So, and, I feel comfortable doing college football, NFL, NHL, NBA, college hoops, NASCAR, so there really isn't anything that I feel uncomfortable calling, but it takes a lot of reading, a lot of film study, and a lot of effort. Timeout is called here by the Huskies, and, again, there should be no reason for them to go for it. Now, if it's 4th down and 1, 4th down and 2, maybe, you could get it with Muhammad, right? But again, anything that's over 4 yards, just kick the field goal. You still want, 19-7 looks shitty on the scoreboard, but again, 19-10 at least gives you a little bit of confidence. Yeah, but the thing is if you go for it and you don't get it, you're still down. You're still going to be down by the 12 points. So, and I would be saying the same thing if Oregon was in that position too. If we were down 19-7, again, the reason why we lost some of those games of the Huskies the last few years, because Lanning, tried to beat Chip Kelly. And instead of going for the field goal, they would be going for it on 4th and 1, and the Huskies were getting stops. And that essentially is the reason why Michael Penix Jr. and some of those teams beat Oregon, because the play calling wasn't good. They were getting, too risky, and sometimes you just got to take what the defense gives you. And, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And they decide to go for it. Touchdown, Huskies! Damon Williams Jr., and there he is, Denzel Boston, and they take a risk, but it pans out. Touchdown, Washington. And that's ballsy, because again, if they don't get it, it's probably game over. They got it, now they feel like they're right back in it, and Oregon usually doesn't give up a touchdown in that situation, but he gets behind the safety, and a great catch by Denzel Boston, where both his catches have been in the end zone. Unbelievable. But that's what Denzel Boston does. Nice job by Damon Williams Jr. and a little bit of luck by the Huskies there on their offensive line to hold that long. Extra point is up and good, and now we have a ball game. 19-14 Oregon. But if you would have called that play 10 times, how many times does that convert to a touchdown? Maybe once? Twice? And so you have to be happy about that. That 1 out of 10 play cashed in and you got it. Because again, if you run that play 10 times, you probably only score once or twice. And they were lucky enough to get the score with Denzel Boston getting behind the safety. And great job there by the Huskies. No, McClellan did not get the catch. But again, sometimes those are the risks that you have to take. But I would have kicked the field goal, But again, if you don't get the touchdown there, it's probably game over. Because if Oregon gets a field goal on the next drive or a touchdown, there's not enough time for them to come back. But I guess sometimes you got to gamble, and they ended up cashing in. And Oregon's defense usually doesn't give up something like that often. But when you do have a great wide receiver in Denzel Boston, both of the touchdowns are to him, right? So you already knew that's who they were going to go to. And probably should have double teamed him and stayed with him. But again, even when you double team Denzel Boston, he's still good enough to get open. And I've seen it all year. And I know Husky fans will agree. So great job there. And now, we don't really know how the game is going to go. And honestly, the vibe is, if the Huskies can get a pick six or a fumble, or something of that nature, that could spark them to victory. But if they don't get, that big defensive play, it may just be a little too late. But again, we'll see if they can end up forcing a 3 and out. Obviously forcing a 3 and out and scoring and then going up 21-19 would be key. But with our kicker, we could still end up kicking a field goal and winning 22-21 at that point if that were to happen. But we'll see if Dante Moore can run the offense clean here in the last 8:54 in the fourth quarter. I'm not your pal. Yeah, and again, the defense is better than last year's, so we'll see where things kind of fall. But not having our top 2 wide receivers for like a month definitely has hurt us quite a bit. But just like the Husky fans will tell you, play calling hasn't been the greatest this season. Same thing for Oregon and Will Stein, hasn't been the greatest. And we'll see what O-line and D-line will end up willing their team to victory with the battle in the trenches. A great job by Washington on getting that touchdown. Very ballsy risk, but it worked off and it paid off. 19-14 Oregon. And I'm kind of happy, that it's a close game rather than a blowout. Rivalry games are funner, when it ends up being within 1 score rather than a team being up by 10-14 or more. And then that other team doesn't have a shot, because there's just not enough time. So. Yeah, I would assume Oregon will be in the 5-7 range. Obviously A&M just lost to Texas, so obviously they were number 3. So Georgia could move up, Oregon could move up, and whatnot. But honestly, I don't really want a bye, and obviously we have to wait for the Big Ten championship and some of these other games. But I almost want Oregon to continuously play games, as a lower seed like the Buckeyes did. Because if you remember, the top 4 teams that had the bye last year all lost when they had 2 to 3 weeks off. So if you end up going undefeated and you have 3 weeks off and then you have no chemistry and continuity and then you just start slow, you lose. And that's not really fair to the teams that played well last year, and we'll see if, the teams that have 2 to 3 weeks off can find a way to win. And they weren't able to win last year, but I have a feeling this year you might get 1 or 2 of those teams that will fall, but 1 or 2 will win. And, you would assume that the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers will win, but we'll have to depend on the matchups. So. Well, we're at 6, so. But we might move up a spot just because of the A&M loss. That's kind of, common sense. Same thing with Georgia, so. Shotgun set. Dante Moore passing complete to Kenyon Sadiq. 2nd down and 10 at the Oregon 35. Come on, Sadiq. And this would have been a perfect possession to have Evan Stewart, DeCorian Moore, and Gary Bryant Jr. available. Timing has been off with, Dante Moore and Kenyon Sadiq today. Shotgun set. Noah Whittington running up the middle for a 1-yard gain. Bryce Butler with a great tackle there for the Huskies. Crowd is going wild there in Seattle. 3rd down and 9 at the Oregon 36, and you feel like the momentum has shifted to the Huskies after that touchdown on 4th down by Damon Williams Jr. to Denzel Boston for his 2nd tutty of the game. Oh my, Dante Moore, short middle, Malik Benson, go, 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 touchdown, Oregon. Oh my fucking God, let's go. Bang, now it's game over, baby. Now it's game over, let's go. 64-yard touchdown pass, never doubt us, Dante Moore, baby. Holy cow. 3rd down and 9, where it felt like Oregon was going to punt. Malik Benson being the hero. Oh, my God. 64 yards. You couldn't have planned that, scripted that, predicted that. Wow. Unbelievable. And again, McClellan, has tried to come up with a few catches here and there. And, even with no Gary Bryant Jr., no DeCorian Moore, no Evan Stewart the whole year. Unbelievable. Look at the catch. He's at like the 47. How do you not tackle him? He runs away from 5 Huskies, and we know that Malik Benson has speed, but we didn't know he had speed like that. That was like DeAnthony Thomas. Holy cow. Extra point is up and good. And now the Ducks are up 26-14. Oh, my goodness. I mean, you couldn't even have tackled him there. I mean, he kind of got in between 5 defenders and just ran away from him. Look at this replay again. Catches the ball,
on maybe like a 15-yard catch and then decides to just run past everyone. The effort there was kind of poor with the tackling angles by the Huskies. And just like that, Malik Benson says, peace. 26-14 Oregon. Wow. And obviously the two guys that jumped to tackle him, the tackling angle was a little off. And, obviously when you're trying to pursue someone, that's full speed, you definitely have to cut them off at the right angle. And, just a little bit too much speed by Malik Benson. And that's the biggest touchdown of his young Oregon Duck career here so far. Unbelievable. False. No lying on the channel. No one predicted that play. Not one motherfucking person on planet Earth. Fuck out of here. I predicted that. Fuck you did. No one fucking predicted that. I mean, you're going to have people that know teams inside and out, and there's no one on planet Earth that saw that play coming. 3rd down and 9. Huskies starting to play good defense. Looked like they were going to force the punt, probably score another touchdown, making it really interesting late. And then all of a sudden, I don't want to say that was the dagger, but definitely going to make it that much more difficult. And imagine if the Huskies would have went for 3, instead of going for the touchdown, then it would have been really over. But at least Denzel Boston's got in the end zone twice, but unbelievable. And honestly, out of all the plays in, 2025, I don't think I've seen a play like that all season until now. That was pretty crazy. And I mean, the last time I've seen a play like that was probably DeAnthony Thomas, honestly. A play similar to that, where you're running away from 4 or 5 guys. I'm still in shock. Unbelievable. Dante Moore showing you that he is one of the top dogs in the country. And Malik Benson, wow. Great yak yards, 64-yard touchdown. 26-14 Oregon. Go Ducks, baby. And especially in a game where Kenyon Sadiq hasn't really been on the same page. Obviously we needed someone else to step up. We obviously have great running backs, but the wide receiver room is thin and unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hirsch with the kickoff, 63 yards, fair caught by Adam Muhammad. And hopefully we see a lot of Adam Muhammad the rest of the way. One of the biggest catches of the year, Malik Benson. Incredible. And the Malik Benson, special teams touchdown. I mean, maybe he's feeding off that energy and that Uncle Mo that he had from last week. And again, we're very thankful that we have him. Adam Muhammad rushing up the middle for 8 yards. Who would have guessed? 2nd down and 2 at the Washington 33. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 150 likes, 100 on the dono train, and we just broke 23,300. So shout out to the individuals in the room. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. passing complete to Denzel Boston. 3rd down and 3 at the Washington 32. And, I don't know if the Ducks can beat the Hoosiers or the Buckeyes this season, but I want a chance to play them, to get payback for what they did last season, in the college football playoff with the Buckeyes. And obviously Indiana beat us earlier in the year. They had top 10 offense, top 10 defense, top 10 special teams. I predicted that we were going to lose that game. We did. And I would love another chance, another crack at Indiana. And we'll find out who ends up winning the Big Ten championship, Indiana or Ohio State next Saturday. And I will be calling that game. 12 for 26 for Damon Williams Jr., 20 for 29 for Dante Moore. Shotgun set, Muhammad rushing right, no gain. And that's the first time that Muhammad hasn't gained positive yards all day. 4th down and 3. Usually it's like 8 to 19 yards per, carry or reception. And now it's 4th and 3 at the Washington 32, and you assume they have to go for it here. I was about to say, is it even possible to get Adam Muhammad with a tackle for loss or a no gain? And I guess so. And Denzel Boston catches it right on the line. I don't know if they're going to give him the first down, though. Let's see. And looks like he lost a yard. I think he's down. Yep, he's down. And that's going to be a turnover on downs. 2-yard pass and turnover on downs. Oregon ball. And if Boston was able to keep his knee up, maybe, he would have been able to lean forward with the ball. But as you see the replay here, great one-handed grab, but the knee down. And then obviously after the play, continues, he rolls around the first down marker, but not after that knee touched first. Bad luck, for one of the studs in college football, a guy that I love watching week in and week out, Denzel Boston. That's David Boston's, obviously son. And if you remember David Boston from Ohio State and his career in the NFL, good genes in that family. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, you have to assume the Buckeyes have to be the favorite, to go all the way and go back to back. But we'll find out what happens in the Big Ten championship. Indiana might be the only team that could beat them. Maybe Georgia. I guess you could throw Oregon in there also. But again, there's a reason why they're as good as they are this year. And I'm definitely looking for an opportunity to play Indiana and Ohio State. That would be a dream for me. I don't know if this team can win it all. I don't know if we can even make it to the Natty, but if we can, face Indiana, beat them in the college football playoff, that will make me slightly, happier. But again, the goal for me would be Oregon versus Ohio State in the Natty. And obviously, if you play that matchup, could Oregon lose? Of course, they would be a heavy underdog. But I would love to be able to see that matchup. And then I guess for Ohio State, they don't really care who they play. They don't care, if it's Indiana or Oregon or Georgia or, Ole Miss or anybody. They feel confident that, they can beat anybody, which they should. They have an amazing, obviously, squad, amazing coaching staff, and they lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator from last year. Haven't skipped a beat. Fantastic team. All right, turnover on downs after the replay. Husky fans are mad, but obviously if you have a replay and you can see the game, you realize that is the correct call. All right, Captain. I'll be live tomorrow for the Broncos and the Commanders on Sunday night, and then we'll do Patriots and Giants on Monday night. Jackson Dart will be playing, so thankfully that will be a little bit more entertaining, against Drake May. So, shotgun set. De'Aaron Hill Jr. rushing to that right side for a 5-yard gain. Rashawn Clark, the safety, with the tackle. 2nd down and 5 at the Washington 29. And again, we're going to be, obviously putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak, here in the last 6:13. But it doesn't really feel like there's too many teams that can win it all. Some teams could get lucky and some teams with 2 to 3 weeks off could lose, but as far as looking at the top 10, I only see a few teams that really could be champions. Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Georgia, maybe those are the only 4 that I could really see, that maybe could win it all. Of course there's other teams that could come out of nowhere in the top 10, but do they have the depth and the personnel to beat those other teams that I mentioned? I don't know. I'm not sure if I've seen anyone else that could match up. Obviously, A&M was good until they played Texas and lost. That obviously hurt their chances, but I'm not sure if there's anyone else 6 through 10 in the top 10 now that could beat Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, or Georgia. I don't know. It doesn't really look like it, but we'll find out. Jordan Davison rushing up the middle for a 2-yard gain. Jacob Lane, the edge rusher for the Huskies with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Washington 23. Move the chains. Well, Texas Tech isn't going to be in the top 5 anymore, and they just lost to Texas. If you lose to Arch Manning, you're not going to beat the other teams. Texas is not a very good football team this year. I mean, if you watch Arch Manning play, they portrayed him as the Heisman winner out of the gates and that this team was like natty worthy. They're a pretender, not a contender. I mean, it comes down to coaching, play calling, obviously, blue chippers, 5-star players, and who's hot and healthy at the right time. And obviously injuries will be a factor as well. Shotgun set, Jordan Davison up the middle, 3-yard gain. Second down and 7 at the Huskies 20. Less than 5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Ducks in control, up by 12 with the football. A&M lost, not Texas Tech. Correct. Whittington rushing right towards that 7-yard gain. Rylan Dillard Allen with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Washington 13. Yeah. A&M lost. Tech did not. Less than 4 minutes to go here. And almost broke loose there by Noah Whittington. Noah Whittington rushing left with the 1-yard gain. Second down and 9 at the Washington 12. Keep pounding the rock, Oregon. And timeout is called. Timeout, Washington. 3:14 left here in the fourth quarter. Kind of unfortunate Jonah Coleman wasn't 100%, but it's not like they didn't have someone that couldn't run the ball today in Adam Muhammad. But, I mean, Muhammad's got 105 rushing yards on 14 carries. That was definitely a mistake by, Fish and the rest of the crew calling plays. We don't usually give up a 100-yard rusher that often, if ever. So sometimes self-awareness, on your team and your players, some coaches have it, some do not. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, with Bama and Texas Tech and Notre Dame, sometimes when you watch them, they look really impressive. And then other times they look like, man, they don't look very good, But again, that's how we feel about a lot of teams, in college football, whether they're in the top 25, for a good chunk of the year or not. So, but it definitely will be interesting to see how the college football playoff will stack up. We still got the championship weekend next weekend. So we'll definitely do some games with that. And then when the college football playoff schedule is released, then we'll have a better idea, on matchups and how things are going to go. And obviously the NFL still up for grabs. The Rams look like the best team in football, but again, we will find out. The NFC is very competitive. And on the AFC side, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs used to be top dogs. Now you got the Broncos, Colts, and the Patriots and a few others, trying to jockey for position. And it definitely looks like it's going to be up for grabs in both conferences, the NFC and the AFC. Timeout is called, and we're waiting for the commercial break to come back. 3:14 left, 26-14, Oregon. See if we gain any more subs since our last commercial break. We're pacing for 40 to 50. Gain a couple more. 96 subs to go to 23,400. Shout out to all the 30, 40 plus subs that we gained here today. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch, Rams at the top, Seahawks looking good, Bears looking good, Eagles going down a few spots, Packers, gaining a little bit of momentum going up, Lions going down, but again, it's definitely, going to be up for grabs. And, AFC, definitely has a few teams. The AFC is weaker than the NFC. There's no doubt about that. You definitely have a little bit more balance on offense, defense, and special teams in the NFC, but we'll see if we end up getting a defense, defensive, type of matchup where we end up getting like, Rams and Broncos in the Super Bowl, which could happen. But again, Bo Nix in that offense sometimes, run in a little bit of mud. So again, the defense is great for Denver, but offense sometimes stalls a little bit. Lack of personnel with no J.K. Dobbins, and you got R.J. Harvey and Cortland Sutton, and that's about it, besides Ingram at tight end. So if Denver were to make the Super Bowl, it definitely would have that offense would have to be a little bit better than it has been, and the defense would have to continue to stay dominant and elite, just like the Texan D this year as well. 1 yard run on shotgun set by Noah Whittington towards that right side. Peppa with the tackle. 3rd down and 8 at the Washington 11. We're at 115. We need 35 more likes to get to 150. Smash that like button if you haven't done it yet. Please do. Handoff. And 7-yard gain. Timeout is called by Washington. And that's going to be 4th down and 1. Kick the field goal. Atticus Sappington. Kick the field goal. Let's make it 29-14. Every year is exciting with college football and the NFL, but, obviously, the teams that are normally at the top, aren't as good this year in the NFL, so that's exciting. And then obviously, Ohio State is doing exactly what they did last year, but then you have like a newcomer in Indiana who played them last year tough in the first half, but got blown out in the second half and just couldn't hang. Then they got a better quarterback and obviously some good upgrades with Mendoza and company. And, Indiana might be the only team that can beat them, this year. Maybe Georgia, but Ohio State, it's not like they blow out every team by 50, but based on their personnel and how they play and how well they're coached up, I mean, you would have to play a perfect game against the Buckeyes to beat them. And same thing goes for the Hoosiers this year as well, being the top 2 teams in college football and both being undefeated and both playing each other in the Big Ten Championship next Saturday, which I will be calling that game. All right, 4th down and 1, and they're showing that they're going to go for it. And why would we do that? Why not kick the field goal? And that turns into a loss of 8. Great job by the Huskies. And again, if you were going to be smart and patient and going for it, for field goals, why not go for a field goal there? Stupid. Come on, Will Stein, you fucking idiot. Take the points while they're there. Make it 29-14. There's no point in going for it there, idiot. And that's coaching right there. Will Stein, idiot. Take the points. There's no reason to go for it there. Kick the field goal, you dummy. Go back to those Husky cheerleaders. Shotgun set. Damon Williams Jr. Pass complete, short left. And timeout is called. 2-minute warning, 26-14 Oregon. I mean, even if you're Oregon and you think the game is over, again, winning 33-14. Yeah, I mean, I guess that looks good on the stat sheet, but it wasn't necessary, And you also have to think, what if Washington stops you there? Take the points. Oklahoma up 17-13 on LSU with 2 minutes to go. Vandy smashing Tennessee 45-24. Virginia Tech and Virginia are about to kick off. Alabama and Auburn are kicking off in 30 minutes. Same thing with UCLA and USC in that rivalry. And then we got Notre Dame and Stanford at the end of the night at 7:30 Pacific. Big wins by the Buckeyes, Texas Tech, BYU, and Miami earlier. And then on Friday, Indiana with a convincing 56-3 win over Purdue. Texas upsetting A&M 27-17 with Arch Manning. Georgia beating Georgia Tech 16-9. And even though Georgia's 11-1, some of their games haven't really been as high scoring as you would have assumed. So they kind of seem beatable, so to speak. Ole Miss 38-19 over Mississippi State. Utah beating Kansas 31-21. And then Arizona last night beating Arizona State 23-7. See if we gain any more subs since the last commercial break. Looks like we did. 95 subs to go to 23,400. We just cashed in on 23,300 today and gained about 30, 40 plus subs on the channel on this game alone. So appreciate every single person that has come through to smash the like button, shoot a dono my way and for the channel, as well as subbing to the channel as well. And we'll be doing more than just Oregon. We'll be doing a lot of bowl games and a lot of the college football playoff here on the channel. So Penn State, Iowa, and here against Washington. Clutch by Dante Moore. Shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch. And we'll take that. 3rd down and 6 at the Washington 17. And a great diving effort there by Washington. No huddle, shotgun set, Damon Williams Jr. Pass complete, going deep. Decker DeGraff, caught. 1st down, Huskies. 24-yard pass there by Damon Williams Jr. to Decker DeGraff. Great job after taking a sack and almost getting sacked again on back-to-back plays, keeping his eyes down the field, and a great catch by DeGraff, the other tight end for the Huskies. 1st down and 10 at the Washington 41 with less than a minute 30 to go. Megan in the building. How are you? First down and 10. Damon going deep and intercepted. I don't know who the hell he was throwing to there. And now the game is over. Thieneman. And ending Penn State's, season early on with a game-clinching interception. And I don't know what the hell that was by Damon Williams Jr., but we'll take the easy interception, and that is game. Yeah, JJ McCarthy has been ruled out, so they're going to be bringing in a jobber at quarterback. So even if the Seahawks play bad, they're still going to win the game on your birthday. So happy early birthday with that. Great Purdue transfer. And again, we have a great secondary. Sometimes it gets exploited and exposed, but they did a great job here today. Kneel down here by Dante Moore. GG, good game to all the Husky fans and all the college all fans that came through to enjoy, obviously, this game here on Saturday. The Ducks improved to 11-1. We don't get a chance to play against Indiana since Ohio State beat Michigan, and that's okay. Congratulations to the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. They're the only 2 undefeated teams, and they earned it. But we're still, happy and excited for the opportunity to go to the college football playoff, and hopefully we can end up finding our way on a deep run this year. Another kneel down here by Dante Moore. And that will be getting us close to the end here in the fourth quarter. Appreciate you, TJ. And that is it. Final score, Oregon Ducks 16. No. 26. Washington Huskies 14. And again, Ducks improved to 11-1. The Huskies dropped to 8-4. 4 straight losses in a row. This one stings and hurts a little bit, but they played with a lot of fire. But again, if they would have given Aden Mohammed the ball more, maybe they end up, winning the game or only losing by 3. And again, that was really the big key in the matchup with the play calling. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Go Ducks. And I'm going to go take my pup on a walk. And then we will be live tomorrow for Sunday Night Football, for the Broncos going against the Commanders. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do on your way out. Shout out to the 40, 50 subs that we gained here today. I appreciate you guys very, very much. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang, go Ducks.